Hey, we are live. Today is Friday, the 5th of April, 2019. Already we're starting to go through April. Anyway, second hangout of the week. I start with Nimblehorse. Hello, Nimblehorse. We're starting to go through April. Anyway, Nimblehorse, turn me off. It's always great when you hear yourself twice. Anyway, what's happening is Patricia was here, but she's just having a few computer issues, so she's coming back. She's just turned her computer off. And then as the evening goes on, in about half an hour or so, Josh Stone is joining us. First of all, hello to everybody in the chat room. Oh, it's you, Nimblehorse. You're in there. Astro King, Port Cali. Yeah, that's who's there at the moment. So good evening to you. And Nimblehorse has come on because it's partly to do with my story. Oh, Dawn's there. Hi, Dawn. It's partly to do with my story. You're going to come and tell us a bit about your story, and your story was how you got into Flat Earth.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm just saying hello to Dawn there. Can you hear me okay?
Okay, I turned you up a bit.
Yeah, okay. So we were just before we went live there, I was just saying I don't want to be boring everybody with like a big spiel. I don't have anything planned. I'm just kind of...
But the whole point about this, as I said, was Patricia thought it'd be really nice if when people come on or whatever, we start to just get to know our chat room a bit more as people. We're all people, aren't we? Whatever the word is in etymology. Can't say humans anymore. We're all got souls and hearts, so that was just about getting to know our chat room a little bit better. So
yeah, so
you're not having to do anything, I'm not making you stand to attention and march, am I?
Yeah. So I was going to explain my sort of awakening as how it evolved through using the internet, really, because it's been such a marvelous tool for study. And well, I could just start there. Is I've lived out in the country, away from the town, for like years and years, well, 10 years plus, right? And I had really bad internet connection. I mean, terrible dial-up speed. So I had this internet dongle, yeah, and
Right.
I was also incredibly skint all the time, so I could only afford to read pages of text. I couldn't like stream video. Okay, so I never had YouTube for years and years, and I never knew it. And well, it's only been in the last maybe 3 or 4 years that I've had full internet broadband because I've moved away from my cottage, and anyway, long story short is those early years.
It's not a long story, Nimblehorse. You're telling us your story. So, yeah, just mind that microphone, though. Don't put anything on the microphone.
No. So, yeah, just being sort of locked into the internet where you cannot see video, and I had to sort of read things. That's a much better way of processing information. See, when you do watch video, things just go over the top of your head. You think you're learning, but you're not really imprinting. When you've actually got to physically read a book, you've actually got to compose the sentence in your head, make sure you understand it, then log it away. Well, so that doesn't happen with video. So, I mean, how it all happened was like, I knew something was wrong with the world actually for like years and years. And I knew about Israel, how badly they treat the Palestinians, probably, well, in the early teens I heard about that. And I've always...
Can I just say something very quickly, Nimblehorse?
Yeah.
Kelly says, we want to listen to your story. No worries. And we are in love mode.
Okay. So just that, I've been aware of this kind of dark underbelly of civilization, the way we live our lives on today with all the wars but I don't think I really woke up to it until about it must have been about 2008, around about. And I heard this guy I used to download podcasts, that's what it was. And so this guy came on, a guy called John Friend. So, and he just mentioned he studied World War II, okay, and he was saying that the Holocaust of 6 million Jews was a fabrication, right? Well, I had never heard anything about that. And I just thought, surely, it's some kind of joke, but he put out 3 or 4 different proofs, right? Which to anybody with a logical, scientific, bent, that, well, you're looking for hard evidence, some facts and stuff, and that's what you appear to do. I'll give you an example. So the story is that during the war, the Germans, the quote-unquote Nazis, they rounded up all the spastics and the retards and put them in a bus with the windows painted out. In fact, there was happy faces painted on the inside of the glass, so that they could drive around with all these invalids in the back with the exhaust fumes going back inside, and poisoned them all within 45 minutes. Right, that's one of the allegations, okay, that I remember reading. And then so the guy went on to say that, well, all of Germany's rolling stock was diesel, right? They didn't have access to petrol. They were able to make petrol from coal, right? They invented that process during the war to try and get fuel, and that was only used for motorcycles and some aircraft, okay? All of their heavy buses and trucks were diesel. Well, you cannot asphyxiate yourself with diesel fumes, okay? It's just not possible. You get a sore head after 2 days of it or something, but if it was a petrol fume, yeah, you'll asphyxiate yourself. So I thought, okay, that's one thing. And he went after point after point after point, okay? So I was intrigued enough to go and study to try and double check these things, okay? And like, for instance, Zyklon B, okay, that's the alleged cyanide that was used to poison all these Jews, okay, and in these alleged showers and stuff, right? So it turns out that that's a patented insecticide. It was designed to poison lice and moths over 24 hours in a confined space at room temperature. And then, that's what they did. They used to disinfect clothing because of the bad hygiene during the war. A lot of, people displaced, filthy. Anyway, I'm not one to get stuck on subjects, you see. I just want to kind of touch on things. And so I was, after 2 years of studying World War II, I basically understood that the whole of the narrative that we're told over the mainstream is complete garbage. It's like the exact opposite. And the fact is that the media conspired to tell all these lies, right, and rouse everybody up with kind of hatred against the Germans. And they got my answer, they got us to go and drop bombs, carpet bomb civilian targets. I mean, that is completely, that never happened before, right? There'd never been a war like that where civilians were targeted, women and children, refugees, deliberately strafed, with machine gun fire and dropping incendiary bombs on working class accommodation. I mean, so that we're told, oh, Adolf Hitler with his, blitz. Well, it was the other way around. It was Churchill started bombing. It was called terror bombing to try and demoralize the German people. And I mean, that's not how wars were meant to be conducted. It would be between. So all of the German airplane, they were just for battlefield, like bombing, like the Stuka was for pinpoint, small, short distances, small arms, right? And then Germany had some cargo planes, that was it. But Britain, they had these long-range carpet bombers. They were designed 15 years before the war started. Yeah, it was like it was all planned to annihilate Germany, which was the rival for the British mercantile empire. Germany wanted their own version of that. So, I mean, it's just really shocking when you find out the actual what happened and how the Germans have been demonized. Called not the word Nazi as well. I was going to say it's actually Bible Hebrew. If I could get the Strong's number, it means like a prince or a leader, someone that's lifted up, a Nazi. So Jesus was a Nazarite or a Nazarene. And then there's the Ashkenazi Jews. 90% of modern Jewry are Ashkenazi Jews. But anyway, the Germans never called themselves Nazis. That was this kind of mocking pejorative that was given to them by the Jews, you know. And now we just think of all these Nazis pitchforking babies into the ovens, you know. It's just shameful that lie. And what really irked me was when I found out about the Holocaust of the Christians, the Russians, right? 1918.
Can I just say, you're touching your microphone all the time and it comes through, it sort of scratches, if you know what I mean. Try not touching your microphone, but we're listening. Carry on.
Okay, so just to round up this kind of, it's a dark side of, you know, sinister plots and stuff. And it was the bankers in New York, they paid for that communist revolution. Trotsky and Lenin were given money to go to Russia to create a sort of false grassroots and to take over Russia, and that's what they did. They basically slaughtered the middle classes, and 66 million people around abouts were starved to death or taken away to gulags, and we don't hear anything about that because the people that carried out that massacre between 1918 and 1956. So that's where we are today. We're actually being genocided by the same people, the bankers, you know, this elite that are just able to control. It's deep, you know. So finding out about these things, it's quite depressing.
It is really, when you work out that nearly everything you know is a lie, all of it, history, everything. I talk about this quite often, so I'm not going to repeat it. Well, everybody kind of must know where I stand, but it is quite amazing to find out that everything, and then all the history is different, even about the Middle East, you know, those people, kind of Gaddafi, all these people, it's actually a completely different story, actually.
Oh, it's shameful. And none of us really know it unless you go sort of digging for it. It's not there for us. It's been hidden by Google.
But it sort of is there, isn't it? If you find it, it's just not available. It doesn't come up like, say something happens on the news, ding, there it is straight away on Google. You've got to hunt for this stuff. But usually somebody, luckily, has put it, usually more as a document, haven't they? Or a book or something like that. Or it's a web page. It's not a video. It's always written.
That's it, because these people, they're playing like whack-a-mole. They're trying to keep all these truths from coming out. And I think the internet kind of like snowballed out of their, you know, it wasn't their invention. These people invent nothing. They just exploit everything. And the internet's something like that. I think it was invented by the military. So www, again, that goes back to the Hebrew. The Hebrew Vav is number 6, and that's like Vav Vav Vav, www 666. You know, it's hidden in plain sight. And it's a web as well. It's like spider, said the spider to the fly. So yeah, and to get on to the flat earth idea, so I've been, after I couldn't do any much more than 2 years of the World War II thing. It was so depressing. I mean, it's just shocking what they did to Dresden. I mean, the truth estimate.
Well, I think that was about, by the way, I think that because, like you were saying, we were doing different things than we realised, like you were saying, the Germans were using diesel and stuff. You know, we were electric. Everything was electric cars, electric this, electric that. And, you know, basically people had worked out and were using the free energy and we were going that way. And then suddenly we get these First and Second World War, which destroyed Europe as a whole, basically, didn't it? England, Germany, France, Italy, just Spain, great big swathes of Europe were destroyed. Their infrastructure was destroyed on purpose.
Yeah, totally. Like it was planned.
Yeah.
And it's just a continuous thing that's been happening as well. And it's going to keep on happening until I'm going to link into some positive ideas, because all that negativity. Well, I'll come to that. I'll leave that to the end. The Bible thing. I don't want to bang on about the Bible like we were saying. That's not how I take on the Bible. I'm much more into for word study and historicity, which is like not taking the verses out of context.
Oh, Nimblehorse, I'm sending you a hug, because I feel that. I feel we need to etymologize, whatever the word is, the Bible, because I don't think we understand what it's actually saying. When you see what etymology is and how all the words break down, and actually we need to do that to the bit of the Bible we've got left. That's what I think.
Yeah, I mean, that's the whole point. Is these verses were written in different ages where people
each word was like a story.
Well, and just we need to understand the context that the verses were written in. We can't just expect them to, bring them 2,000, 4,000 years into the future. And anyway, it's very complex. I don't want to get dragged into any sort of. Anyway, so what was I? Yeah, the flat Earth thing was after the Second World War study. I got so depressed reading that I kind of started looking at concave Earth. I was reading some stuff about that, and geocentric. I was going to throw some links on the page of these early links that I've got, just from my bookmark bar, just for anybody that would want to. So, I mean, people might know them anyway. They're a couple, that, like a family. Wait a minute, they're just saying it's not found. But anyway, I'll look for it later. They were writing articles discussing this idea that the Earth was actually in the center of the universe, not moving. And then I got into the concave. Somebody was saying that it's all on the inside, and that quite amused me. And I was again looking for facts, like the guy that made the rectilinear, which he was trying to make this straight edge. And if you kept it going, it's straight, it would eventually, the ground would either raise up or raise down with the curve, and his measurements were saying that it was concave. But that could have been anything. It could have it was only one experiment over one summer. It wasn't like repeated. Same with the Tamarack mine experiment. They put huge pendulums down these mine shafts and measured the angle. And again, it was suggesting that it was coming at a different angle. It wasn't parallel. I mean, it was not as what was expected. But again, it wasn't repeated. So these kind of things, they're not proof. They're just intriguing. So, and I knew about the dinosaurs, and evolution was dodgy because there's no transitional fossils like between a cat and a dog, for example. It's just not even one.
It's really strange because in a sense we might have evolved a little bit, because obviously people like Brian Forrester and Marie Wheatley, who comes on our channel sometimes, they found elongated headed people and they're subhuman, but they're not telling us the truth about how we've evolved then, because these people were here and we were around when they were around, but they were around first and then we came along. Son, I don't know where we fit in exactly, but so all the long barrows were built by the elongated headed people and all the round barrows were built by the round headed people. It was a bit of a shame as we've evolved along. They just didn't tell us the truth about what's happened. They've just fabricated it all.
Yeah, I've seen some of Brian Forster's videos, and those skulls do look rather. But to me, again, that's me looking at a video, so I can't say if it's real or not. I don't take anything for granted anymore. Like, someone can't show me Earth curve by showing me a video. It's not how. Proof to me would be some kind of experiment that could be done by anybody on the planet at any time, and it would be the same kind of result each time, showing curvature. And there isn't an experiment that does that.
Can I ask you something, Nimblehorse? Are you the only one in your family that believes in flat Earth, or all your family like you?
Yeah, so my family is completely dysfunctional. Yeah,
It just sounds like mine then. Oh, dearie me. Carry on.
so I'd be the black sheep. Yeah.
I just asked that. Who in the chat room feels they're a black sheep? Because I feel that I am. That I'm the one that gets pointed out. Must be me. It's all my fault. Anyway, carry on, Nimblehorse.
Well, that is it though. Is I'm just looking for proof. I want scientific proof. I don't want some video or somebody's opinion. And so before I even found YouTube and that flat Earth phenomena happened, I was looking for, and that's what it was saying, that there's no experiment that proves the Earth's rotating, has any velocity, and there's no curvature to be seen. We can't measure the curve. They can make a Google Earth and model it, yeah, but we can't climb a mountain. Like they said, the eye level horizon just keeps rising, and horizon means what does it mean again? It means limiting circle. So like you're inside a hula hoop, looking at the edge. It's just flat, level all around, and
we do have a bit against us, though, don't we? Because that bit you're talking about, the horizon level with the circle, we have a 360-degree eye level circle. It's a circle for us, is in our eyes, but it's not. Doesn't mean the land is flat. It just means the circle we can see is 360 degrees round us.
yeah, I understand that. But as you climb up in the atmosphere, it just keeps on the distance.
True. Yep, I'm going on and on.
Yeah, and so you would see some kind of lensing, like you were looking at a lens, a curving. You'd see that with your perception, but that's not what we see. We just see a continuously vanishing horizon on a, well, it's distorted. It's all that GoPro stuff. So it's unconclusive. That's what I'm saying. We can't argue either way. But what we can say is that the people that are running the show don't want us to think that it's flat, even though they've got a flat Earth marked flag. You know, they're playing a game where they want everybody going down the wrong road, and so that's why I like flat Earth, because you have to be like, you have to let go of your, you know, what you think, who you think you are, and where you think you are, because we don't really know. At least that's how I see it. Anyway. Just it's a divine place, and we've been told that it's just a material, you know, flash in the pan, and it's nothing. You know, there's no consequences. It's just an accident. Well, I think it's the exact opposite. I like the idea of it being totally in the center, totally magnified. You know,
yeah, just forgetting that we've got hearts and souls in all.
Yeah, and everything matters, and so that's where we are. And how long have I been chatting for?
Hey, you're all right. Josh isn't coming on for a little bit, but he'll be on in the next, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes.
Okay,
But it's okay. I'm enjoying you talking, Nimblehorse.
Right, then I'll go on to the Bible thing, because that's been quite a big thing for me. Right? I grew up being secular. Okay, I've been reading in my youth a lot of Zen, Buddhism, and Taoism. I could explain Tao for people to understand the law of opposites and all that. That's the universe that we're living in. It's, you know, so if I was to explain yin yang theory, it's not really an idea or a philosophy or an ism and such. It's just a way of observing the world that's already there. So there's extremes of this polarity. There's, you know, it's either hot or cold, black or white, up or down. There's always these two dualistic things happening, and yin and yang are never separate from each other. Right? You never just get a yin on its own. You get yin on its own with just a tiny little bit of yang, a little seed. That's the eye inside of the, you know, the yin yang shape. And so we're always trying to find a balance, to live balanced between these extremes. And so that's pretty much the theory. It's just
Patricia saw one the other day, didn't you, Patricia? Patricia, are you there? Patricia, I'm going to make her talk now. Patricia was just, we were going through something. Is she there? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm here. Sorry, son had to tell it down.
The all-seeing eye bit. Say that bit, Patricia.
The what? Sorry.
Was it you? The all-seeing eye.
Oh, when it's to do with the numbers that somebody was putting up, I 19. Oh, flipping heck, I can't remember now. You know, like
it was actually Claudio, wasn't it? Claudio. He's coming back next week, everybody, on Tuesday. And just to say quickly, we've got Marilyn Free Spirit Level. She's coming on next week as well. So, but it was Claudio.
No, it weren't Claudio. It was Jason on the end.
Oh, yes, it was. Yeah.
The numbers were 1 and 9 or something, and it was. I said I see, and you said something about all, somewhere, and I'm like, is that what they mean by all seeing eye? All see in eye. Anyway, yeah.
Yeah, Patricia's been doing a bit of homework.
I'm always doing homework. I don't get any good marks for it, like I wrote, but.
Oh, Patricia, anyway. I love you. I always say nice things to you. Well, mostly anyway.
Can I just say hi to everyone in the chat and hi to Nimblehorse, even though I have said it before, but
yeah, hi,
just want to say hi. Hope you're all okay. My son wants to watch telly anyway, so I'll leave you to it. It's great listening to you, by the way, Nimblehorse.
Thank you. So,
it's just something that she saw. So it was the way that someone said it, and so it's the all-seeing eye. And actually, it just matched. And I think she's right. But anyway, carry on, Nimblehorse.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's all occultic symbolism. I think that goes back to the Egyptians. They had a lot of that with their alphabet being little pictures, you know. Well, that takes.
Oh yeah, because it adds up to 8 or something. Is that what it was, Patricia? 8 or 9? I can't remember now. I think it's 8 because 8's is whole, isn't it? It's the whole is 8.
It's infinity symbol, yeah.
Yeah. So all-seeing eye, and I is 8. Is that right? A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I. Oh, it's 9 then. It's 9.
Oh, that's almost grammatria as well. That when you're doing that, yeah. So let me tell you some little factoids about the Bible then, because I'm not anything like a Christian that you'd think. I would be totally shunned by Christians. The Judeo-Christians, that's 99% of Christians would be your Judeo-Christians. So that's people that think Jesus was a Jew. So we'd have to touch on some thin ice because of these people that claim to be God's chosen people. Yeah. But I think I can do it. I've actually been studying the Bible for coming up for 12 years now. I've been doing this word study. And so I'm basically looking at the Bible in the kind of original Hebrew context, the Paleo Hebrew. That's got nothing to do with Yiddish, which is modern Hebrew. It's a different language altogether. But and the Greek and Aramaic. So looking at the verses in context, in their historical context as well, that's important. That who was saying it, and looking back at history, looking for facts on the ground, looking for proof that the Bible is true. And that seems to be what I've found, is that people like to say, oh, the Bible's a load of crap because it just makes shit up. Well, no, it's the other way around. The Bible's not been disproved. It's every time it's like they said Troy doesn't exist, and then they found Troy, and then they said Sodom and Gomorrah didn't exist, and they found, these sites, archaeological sites. And so that, that's not my beef. I just, like I said, I was quite secular. I liked Buddhism. I liked Zen Buddhism particularly. And so when we first started the conversation, I mentioned this guy John Friend that had sort of awoken me to the lies of the Holocaust being, like they say. I mean, even now they've reduced the numbers down, by the way. I don't want to go there. I could do a proper talk about it, but it would be depressing. And it's the people that are Where did I get? Yeah, because the Jews are claiming to be the Hebrews of the Bible. Okay, and I would claim that that's not true, and I can actually prove it using the Jewish in-house writings. I mean, they know that they're lying, but they don't care if we don't know, you know. And so they're masquerading as a group of people that come from biblical scripture, and they were promised by God, the Creator, that if they followed His laws, and not just the 12, the 10 Commandments, but also like 500 different judgments and laws, right? Well, the Jews don't do that. They don't follow the law. They don't even say that. I'm not trying to pull the Jews down, and I'm just trying to explain that my version of the Bible totally contradicts 99% of modern Christians, right? So I don't really, I can't talk to them because they're so prejudiced, you know, that they've so much dogma with their belief that they just won't accept what I have to say, even though it's evidence. You know, I can prove it. It's got like logic behind it, and so I can give you some examples of it. I can give you some examples.
Just while you're looking it up at a second, can I just say that Josh has joined us? Josh, hello, my darling.
Hi, Josh.
Hi.
I'm just spinning up.
Hi,
Hello,
Nimblehorse.
Josh.
Hi.
Hi, Karen.
How are you, my darling? Great videos you're putting out, Josh.
What's that?
Great videos you're putting out.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Should we just hear what Nimblehorse has got to say, and then we'll get into a conversation? Yeah. But he's just finishing off something here.
Oh,
yeah. Just rounding up, actually.
Oh yeah, you know, take your time. Totally. I'm just chilling. Got home from work and listening in.
So I was just given a brief kind of story of how my awakening really from 2008 and the things that have sort of triggered me to study on the internet, and this is where I'm at. So I'm just coming to the Bible and how that's influenced me, and so but it's not I'm not your average Christian. I was going to give some examples of how I differ from the run-of-the-mill Christian. Okay, so for example, there's people that say that the King James Version is totally perfect. You know, it's the word of God. If you don't believe it, you're going to burn in hell, right? Well, that's totally insane, because that's not what it says in the Bible. That's Catholic doctrine, kind of punishment thing. The Bible's actually exclusively racist material. I mean, it was written by a bunch of people that were completely exclusive. I mean, they excluded all other people from their company back in the Bronze Age, and they were commanded to do that by God. They were a bloodline. So you can imagine someone called Jacob, right? And he was promised by God that his children and their children's children, if they followed God's law, like the Creator God of the Bible, the Hebrew Bible, that they would be protected by this number one God, right? Well, and the Bible's basically stories of how they failed, how they totally failed, and all of the prophets that came along and said, "Look, you guys, you're failing here." Well, they got killed. I mean, Isaiah, he's one of the most famous prophets in the Bible. The people didn't like him, what he was saying. They didn't want to hear what he was saying, so they sandwiched him between two doors and sawed him in half, up from the arse to his head. And that's what's happened to the prophets. They all get killed by people that don't want to hear the truth, right? So, and then Jesus, right, his mission, he says his mission statement. He says, "I've only come for the lost sheep of the house of Israel." So that's like, if you think of my second name, okay, it's Patterson, right? It's one of the most common names in Scotland. Patterson, right? So that's my bloodline. I can say that if I had a contract between me and God, it would just be, my name would be on the contract, nobody else, okay? Well, that's what the Bible says, right? But what happened was, I mean, James, the book of James, verse 1, chapter 1, it says, to the 12 tribes scattered abroad, greetings. Okay, well, It's not meant for everybody. It's for this limited bloodline. Well, that bloodline is like sand on the beaches of all the world. That's what the Bible says. It's basically the white Caucasian, Celtic, Anglo-Saxon, Germanic people, right? And I can prove that through history, okay, and archaeological proof that that is the case. Well, and just because we've got these guys called Jews living in Palestine at the moment, claiming to be the last tribe, the tribe of Judah, and everybody else has disappeared. I mean, that's total bunk, and I can totally tear that to pieces, like I said, using the Jews' own in-house writings and other sources, biblical sources and historic sources, and there's no doubt about it. That's the thing. It's called Christian identity, Joel Seedline Christian identity, and it's a bit like flat Earth science. You want to have proof. You don't want to just take someone's word for it. You need to have like hardcore corroboration from different sources to make it work. You can't just believe or die. That's not how it works. You've got to, like in the Bible, it says prove all things. You know, you've got to source it and make sure it's real. Otherwise, you're going to be just deluded. So, let me give you some examples of how this Bible has failed. It's through translation, basically. It's been translated, like the word Jesus, okay? If you shouted out Jesus when he was alive, he wouldn't look round. That's not his name. His name was Joshua. And in the Hebrew, Joshua is Yahshua, which means Yahweh the Creator, and Shua means salvage, to salvage something. So Yahweh saves, if you like, but Joshua. And because it went through Greece, they couldn't pronounce some of the Yah. It became Jesus, and then it went to Latin and into Europe and became Jesus. I mean, there's no J in the Hebrew alphabet. So things like that. But people get totally freaked out when you start using the word Yahshua. They get upset that or even God's name. You could ask a Christian, what's God's name? And they go, I don't know. Or they'll think, oh, Jesus is his name. But they don't know. God actually told his name to Moses when up on the burning bush. Moses said something like, what am I going to say? Who told me this when I go down to see the tribes? And the bush, as it was a messenger or something, said, I am that I am. That's meant to be God's name, and that you're to use that name, for communication purposes, to call on him with that name. But Hebrew has no past, has no present tense. It's not got the same kind of, it doesn't see things in linear time. It has two kinds of tense that are more, I forget, I've just learned this a few weeks ago, but so it's not I am that I am. It's more like I will be whatsoever I choose to be. That's God's name, his personal name. It's more of a statement as well.
Hey, Patricia's been writing something in the chat room. She put, yes, you are. Yes, you are.
Yeah. And there's also...
Patricia, you're outselling today.
Yeah.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are.
And there's also like the French, je suis, which is I am. It's like Jesus, je suis. Anyway, there's loads of these quirky things that there's no one thing. It's loads of levels, all intercrossing, and I'm not trying to say I have any kind of answers. It's just the things that have triggered my. Here's one, right? So when I don't know if you know the Bible. There's a story. Lot is escaping from Sodom and Gomorrah with his family, and he's told not to look round. And his wife turns round, and she's turned into a pillar of salt. You've heard that? Well, again, this is a failing in translation. The idiom is not being carried over. And an idiom is like a local thing. Usually in that area, it's a flat plain, okay? And the way they make salt is that they get water to drop down from like 6 feet and it drips, right, and it creates a big stalagmite, an upward, and that's like a big pillar of salt, okay, and then they could smash it with a hammer and take bits of it, using the sun to evaporate the water off, okay, and so from a distance, or it's a foggy, if you were approaching that pillar, you might think it was a person, with a blanket on. So anyway, a pillar of salt in that area, it's an idiom. It just means frozen in fear. So basically, Lot's wife had a heart attack. She looked round, frozen in fear, and died. Well, she was told not to look round. They were running away from the hailstones and firebombs that were coming from heaven in that story. So you can't take things too literally. Let me tell you some things about Jesus, right? That I think, again, I'd be a complete heretic if I was to come out even to my own group of, dual seedline Christian identity, where I go to learn stuff, podcasts and things. If I told them what I'm away to tell you, they'd freak out. So let me explain that Jesus, when he was, I believe Jesus is real. It's a real person. When he was crucified by the Romans, normally that process is 3 days. You're up on the cross dying for 3 days. It's an agonizing torture process, and it's a humiliation because all the people can throw stones at you and stuff, just totally spit on you, whatever. You're up on the cross, nailed up for 3 days, okay? Well, Jesus was only on the cross for 3 hours, 3 or 4 hours. And then he got spirited away by his rich friends, like Joseph of Arimathea. He was the richest man, richest in the whole of the Roman Empire, because he ran the tin mines at Cornwall and brought tin into the Mediterranean by boat, right? That was he was a trader, and he was Jesus's uncle, okay? And Jesus himself was of the house of royal Judah. Like, he wasn't a Jew, he wasn't a Judean, he was a Galilean. He didn't study the Talmud. He preached the Mosaic Law. And so how it works is that these Hebrew Israelites, they'd lived in that area for 1,000+ years as the tribe of Judah. And there was northern tribes, 10 northern tribes lived up towards near Syria. Okay, and they had a falling out over, I'll not go into it, but they didn't really, so the 10 northern tribes were relocated by the Assyrians. It's a common practice for, even in today, all these people that are getting shifted around from Syria into Europe, relocated, and that's what they did in the ancient world as well. So around about 745 BC, the 10 northern tribes it's about 2 million people, were relocated over towards Media, which is, about 1,000 miles over to the east. And the tribe of Judah stayed behind. It had powerful city walls that could keep the army out, and so they were unmolested. But it's a complicated historical story, right? And I can't explain it. It is complex. And so what happened was this group called the Judahites, towards the end of their rule, they took over the lands of the south, okay, which were Edomites, and that's like the Canaanites, okay. They're a different kind of people altogether. And these people basically took over and Judah lost its power, and the Greeks came in and took over, and it ceased to become the tribe of Judah, and they became known as Judeans. So there were a mix of people. There were a mix of these Canaanites. There were a mix of the Greeks. The Romans were coming in. there was also Arabs and Africans and slave traders, and it was a polyglot, okay, and it became known as Judea, around about 150 BC. And then Herod, okay, Herod was the, he wasn't a king, he was a tetrarch. He was this, like, he was put there by the Romans to keep control and as a taxing person that they could use to get taxes for money. And so this Herod, right, he was one of these southern Edomites, these Canaanite people, that hateful people, right? And he's the one that had all the children murdered because they might have been baby Jesus. Okay, that was his. He had the command that all these infants should be slaughtered because he'd heard that the Messiah was born or was going to be born, right? I mean, an Israelite king would never do that. That would never happen. But because of this usurpation of the Sanhedrin, the original Judahite temple and things, by these foreigners, along came Jesus, right? And he was condemning these people, telling them to get the fuck out of the... I mean, you're not meant to sell doves for that's what was happening. The money changers were there selling people these animals for slaughter as part of it. And that had never happened before. And people had to pay with a silver shekel. It was like half shekel, right? And it was like, it would be worth, 50 pence or 25 pence in today's money, silver weight. And these Jews, these Edomite Jews, they hoarded all these half shekels, right? So that if somebody wanted to make a prayer, they'd have to get a half shekel. Otherwise, no other money was accepted, right? And so, but then they would have a black market of half shekels, and you could sell a half shekel for 20 times its value, right? So that someone could make a prayer. And that's who Jesus was whipping out of the temple, right? That was the first thing he did when he started his mission. He kicked out these bankers because they were stealing widows' pensions and things. It was like they're criminals. They're still in power today. These are the Goldman Sachs and the Schiffs and the Rothschilds and there's Babylonian fractional reserve. That's where it was developed, in Babylonian. And then they nailed him to a cross, okay? And I'm saying that Jesus never died on the cross, okay? What happened was he was resuscitated, okay? It wasn't a magic. He was a strong man, okay? Jesus was 35, 20, and he was flogged really badly. That Turin shroud is actually real, and I can explain how the pattern was imprinted. So I'll explain that. So what happened was he was severely beaten, and he was with a whip that had glass and pieces of lead embedded in it. So you could see all the scars that he took. And 3 hours he was on the cross, okay? He was offered a sponge with vinegar. Well, it wasn't a sponge, it was this hyssop plant. It was like a big ferny plant dipped in vinegar wine and then hung up to the drips falling off that fell into his mouth, right? And in that wine was opiates and probably heroin, right? That was trying to take the pain of the agony of being on the cross, okay? And Jesus didn't want it because he probably tasted it, he knew it was drugs, and he said that was not part of the deal. He wasn't looking to escape, from that. So, and then getting stabbed in the side, that's been proven by speaking to surgeons and that's not a fatal wound. Okay, and the centurion that did that, they knew exactly where to stab someone, to maim them or to kill them or just to wound them. And that was just to show the crowd, basically. It stabbed him in the lung, right? And because when you're hanging from the cross, you're kind of asphyxiating in your own, your lungs fill up with saliva, basically, because you have to pull yourself up to take a breath. And after the third day, they usually come along and break your legs with an iron bar so that you can't keep on pulling yourself up for breath. So anyway, like I said, he was taken down off the cross, basically. He went to Pontius Pilate and Joseph of Arimathea, probably paid for Jesus to come down off the cross, took him away, stuck him in that cool cave with a couple of those Essen guys, that they were from the community Qumran, and they knew all about herbalism. So Jesus was completely covered in aloe veras and wrapped up in that linen shroud. And so he wasn't dead, right? He was alive, but he was in a fever because and he was drugged up with heroin, right? So he would have been sweating profusely, okay? And with the high temperature and the sweat turned the aloes into like ammonia gas, which evaporated upwards through the cellulose fibers of the shroud, the linen, and it bleached the image of him onto the fabric. That's how it happened. And they've done tests with pigs as well. Like they've killed a pig and been able to imprint. You get those imprints in hospitals as well, where people die. They have the last kind of sweaty fever, and it's like ammonia coming out of your skin, and it just can bleach organic cellulose fibers. It's just on the surface, and it's authentic cloth because it's a herringbone weave that comes from, it's a really rich fabric. I mean, Jesus was rich, his family was wealthy, and he got the best. Even the shirt that they took off him before they nailed him up, that was like a one-piece garment, really exclusive gift, probably. So anyway, so he got up, right, out of that cave, and Mary Magdalene said that she saw this gardener, right, and the cave was empty. Well, that gardener was Jesus, because they never washed him. He was all cut bloody, crispy, covered in that brown aloe vera. And gardeners spend all the time outdoors, really suntanned, okay? So that's what she thought, that Jesus was a gardener because he was all brown from the blood and the bruising. And so he was spirited away, okay, with his mates from Qumran, these angels, probably because they were dressed in white, their robes. And later on, Jesus appears in amongst the disciples, and they're saying, "Look here, I'm real. Feel my wound." And he ate some fish and honey. It was like, I'm not a ghost. I'm a real person. And then I think from there he went over to Nepal. He went over to Kashmir, and the last story in the Bible is Jesus taken up into heaven. Okay, well, that's him climbing the mountain range over in the east, as if you're going on the Silk Route towards Kashmir. And it's a book I read, okay? Jesus lived in India. That fed me with all those ideas. But I mean, I don't see why. To me, that makes sense. And whereas just saying, "Oh, I believe Jesus resurrected," it doesn't make any sense to me. So
very interesting. I kind of, feel that it was a bit different, and that so he didn't really rise. He just was ill for a few days, and then people thought he died and come back, sort of thing.
Yeah, and he went somewhere else. But as far as he's concerned, he did fulfill the prophecy. He appeared to die on the cross. That's all that mattered. The crowd was convinced, and he did his business, and then he did raise himself up again after 3 days and recovered and went, off skate somewhere else. And
Josh is going to say, Josh has got, what are you going to say, John?
I was going to say, hoaxing us since 1 AD.
What's that?
Right. Hang on a second. All right.
Hello, Josh.
Hoaxing us since 1 AD. Right? Like if he didn't die, they've been hoaxing us since 1 AD.
Well, he did die. I'm not saying that to all intents and purposes he died. I'm just saying that he didn't.
Yeah, that's what I mean. They do all these fake deaths all the time, and just saying that was the maybe the
That
first
was the
one.
one of the first ones.
That's right. 1 AD on the first day after death, right? Hoaxing us since 1 AD. All right, sorry. I was just.
Are you cold out there in the Marquee? It looks like. Are you in Canada?
He's in his garage. He's in the New York area, but he's in his garage, and that's his he shed. It's a great he shed.
My little chill, little hangout where I do all my studying and video stuff and songwriting and all that stuff, and watch you guys.
Oh, Josh, and make videos. So you make your videos. You make your videos in there, do you?
Yeah. Wish I could show you the other side, but
yeah. And sometimes Josh is playing his own music, aren't you, Josh?
And like up here in front of me, behind the computer, is a big bulletin board that I pin stuff up on as I try to keep all the thoughts in order, because all the different subjects.
Can I just say that in the comments you were writing that Jesus was an electrician? Do you want to explain that bit to Nimblehorse then?
So when I started really getting into free energy and the electrical aspects of Earth and everything over the last year, I kind of like came to my own kind of ideas about maybe what Jesus and his crew were. I think that computers, as we know them, have been around forever, and it's nothing new. But there will be a day that every human alive right now, there's going to be that last human that's going to pass away that was born before computers were reinvented now. So it got me thinking about BC, before Christ, before computers, the BC, and AD would be after death, which would be analog to digital. And it's almost, in my mind, he was sent here, kind of like an IT guy or an electrician, to do the changeover from analog to digital.
And he's coming back with 2.0. Jesus 2.0 is coming back soon.
He's been scheduled for another upgrade to the electrical system.
I don't know if you've heard the plain truth. His version of the Bible is Jesus has come, he's been, and he's never coming back. That's how he sees it.
Yeah, he wishes.
But yeah, very interesting, Nimblehorse, and do appreciate what you've said. And I think the chat room have been very interested there in listening to you. As Josh is here, can we have a group conversation?
Sure.
You know what I wanted to like? I was listening a little bit earlier too, and you were talking about the WWW Nimblehorse, and I love that you brought that up, because I did a video about the Wild Wild West, which is WWW, and the notion that it kind of didn't really happen, that was a faked time period on us, to kind of hide our history. But there's a lot of symbolism in the WWW, like you said, the 666. Because I even kind of have this thing here. It's probably going to be backwards, isn't it?
Yeah. No, cool.
Yes.
Was it forward?
It's forward.
Normal. Yeah.
All right. So Wild Wild West. You got Wild West, and you flip it. It's 33, and we know about 33. Yeah. And then WWW is 333. 3 times is 999. Upside down is 666. That's how I got there. And then there's just some like current examples that we're currently using. Even World War III, that's WW3. So World War 3 Ws. So that's how I got there in my mind, that the Wild Wild West is a hoaxed time period, because they encode it in all the numerology and words and everything. But I when you brought that up earlier, I remembered. Oh yeah, good call.
Add one to that is the 2 car companies, the German Audi and Volkswagen. So the logo is a VVV, again, the V's above, like a W and a V are actually the same letter, just doubled. So, and then Audi have got those 4 circles, and 3 of the circles make a 6, 6, 6, and they overlap, and that's all by design.
Yeah, they know all they know the true history. They know the secrets of free energy, and they know they're using it. And they're the ones in the know, and they just like to kind of symbolize it and all their, all the
sigil.
And it also communicates it to us. So it's kind of a disclaimer because technically they're telling us.
Yeah.
It's through symbolism. And so that's where if we kind of start to try to tap in to learn how to pay attention to our subconscious reads symbols. It doesn't read words. So when they're communicating these symbols to us, it is actually communicating to our subconscious. And then once I'm still learning how to do it. It's hard, but yeah, paying attention to your subconscious, what it's telling you, because that's the communication that's coming through from them. And so that's their disclaimer, because I think there are universal laws. Even God has, free will. Can't force things. So there are universal laws. So I think that for them to kind of do the magic that they're doing to us by deceiving us, they have to tell us. I think it's part of the deal. So they do it through symbolism. Technically, they're doing it.
What do you think about all the sinister side? The 5G and the fluoride and the GM and all these different levels of bombardment trying to destroy us.
I think it's mixed with truth and bull. I think there's some truth to 5G. I think there's definitely some new signals going around, but I think it's somewhat misdirection also.
Just more
same with chemtrails and stuff like that. How I kind of perceive the world is that we're being harvested on multi levels. Our energy, our even our bodies, and
Can I ask you something, Josh? Just butting in there. Really sorry about the chemtrails. Now we know for sure that planes are running on condensed air when they're in the air. They're making these contrails. They are making trails because they're condensing the air, but they are spraying us as well.
Yeah.
So it's a bit confusing now because we would have all said that they were chemtrails, but I think the planes, the really modern planes, those Airbuses and all that, the ones that really, well, it's probably all planes are. Well, they're all working on compressed air, aren't they? But it's just those trails. A lot of them are the compressed air they're using.
Yeah, compressed air, and I think some helium is involved too.
Oh yeah, explain that to Nimblehorse, because you mention helium a lot.
It's I'm still kind of working that into how I'm kind of putting it together in my head for it to make sense to me, and how they're utilizing one of the most abundant gases that we have is helium. And so I definitely think they're using it. You could tell when if you look at videos of them filling up a plane wing from underneath, which is ridiculous, with no eye protection, which is ridiculous. And they're filling up these planes with these hoses. If you look at the hose, with the amount of PSI, the pressure going through that hose, that should be, you've turned on a garden hose, and when you turn on a garden hose, it gets rigid, it stiffens out. And if you watch video of them filling up those planes, those hoses just lay there. They don't move. So they're either not putting anything in there, or it's some sort of other gas, helium based maybe, that's filling up those wings to give that plane that extra lift. Maybe. So that's kind of where my thought is with helium. It's assisting. And then the turbines are what actually kind of, I call it in my mind, the bumblebee effect. And bumblebees don't fly. They get into the frequency that they're in. Their wings move them around. It's like helicopters for pitch and direction, but it's that resonance that they're in that makes them actually levitate. They're levitating. So I compare planes to that the turbines are giving them that resonation. And pulling in that electrical air up in the ozone. I call it the operating zone. And they just levitate and propel. And they never curve. So there's definitely a flatness to the
Yes.
to the terrain they're going over. That's, for me, I always come back to that I've been on planes and stuff like that. So there's definitely a flatness to what they're flying over. They're not curving. So in my mind, that's kind of my big one for that area. But
I was convinced by that video. It shows you a night flight from, I think it's Amsterdam to Brazil. So in that curve, it's totally flat because you see the stars at night, and they're not curving round with the ball. So it's obvious it's a flat plane just through that.
Yeah.
But that's a video, and it's not.
It's like the Earth part is flat. Everything else, I don't know, but the Earth part is flat. What we are physically on is flat.
And also,
what surrounds us, I don't know exactly.
Air is one thing, right? And if you watch Peter and Pete, they'll say it's something different. But if you imagine, we've been taught that air is one thing, but obviously they have failed to tell the public they're using the air to fly.
Yeah.
It's such a difference, isn't it? It makes such a difference if they told the people that. So air isn't what we think it is. It's what we need to breathe, but it's electricity and all sorts of things. It's just like, it's just so annoying that they've so misled the people. And do you know something? Do you know what it was? Patricia again. We were doing something, and I just said to her, I don't know. We got to this bit, and she was looking up the Wright brothers. And she noticed that when the Wright brothers made their planes, they took off with petrol, or whatever you want to call it, fuel, and then they switched to electricity, and then they switched it back to land. So the first planes flying were doing it.
Yeah.
It's like, what?
Yeah.
What?
Oh, yeah. I think you sent me a message about that or something. And I remember like, wow, yeah, totally. Yeah, the first planes were basically fuelless. They maybe a little bit of fuel in the beginning to take off, for the engine to actually make the wheels go and stuff like that. But yeah, once they're up in the air, they're flying around like the birds are. They're just electrical currents. Major scam. I mean, they lie about everything else. I don't know why.
It's got quite away from where Nimblehorse was talking. Sorry, Nimblehorse. But
yeah, dude. I'm sorry, dude.
I don't think you'll mind, but we have moved away. But that's why I'm not sure. They tell us what air turbulence is. And I was actually watching one of those captains one day, and he's explaining there's different types of air turbulence. But now we know that the air is electric. I mean, some of those planes, they actually look like they're going to break up. The people are screaming their heads off. They are so scared. And they're not enjoying this at all. And the plane is buffeting all over the place. It's like someone's holding it and shaking it. I don't think we understand what turbulence is. It must be electrical. And they're saying it's you dropping, but it's much more electrical. Because it doesn't look right. I've watched hours of turbulence, because that's what we do, isn't it? I bet you do when you do anything, Nimblehorse and Josh. You watch things for hours before you even comment on them. And I just can't believe turbulence. I just don't think we understand quite what that is. That's just amazing. I mean, it could be half an hour and it's like someone's shaking the plane.
Yeah, I've thought about turbulence myself. I've kind of started to make videos about turbulence specifically, but I haven't nailed it in my head. But yeah, I think about it a lot too. It's definitely not what we're being told.
Yeah, sorry. I don't know what it is exactly, but I know it's not what they're telling us. Because I've got hours of people screaming their heads off.
I gotta pull up some more videos of that. But that's kind of funny to watch, isn't it?
Sort of, but
I've been one. I've been in turbulence.
Some of them, they're crying, and even when the plane, and this is men as well. Even when the planes have landed, they're crying. Like quite often, it might be some of the older planes. So whatever it is in the Middle East or whatever, and these people are crying. The men are crying. They just want to get off the plane when it's landed. But they've had this most horrific journey.
Right. Yeah.
But I mean, being so buffeted, it's like someone else is going, you've got that. I don't know how they fly through this stuff. I hope everybody understands what I mean in the chat room, by the way. Yeah, I think Josh does, don't you? I don't know about Nimblehorse. Do you Nimblehorse know what I mean?
In turbulence, bumpy sort of ride, yeah.
Yeah, but it's just a weird thing. It's not, I don't see that everybody's, it's not like suddenly they go, oh, look, we've just dropped 20 feet. Oh, look, we've dropped another 30 feet. Or we've gone up. Oh, we've dropped. The plane is just battling to get through something. And then the people being thrown, the plane's being jolted all over the place as if it's actually going through something fixed and being jolted. I don't know. I think people get the gist of what I'm saying.
It's definitely electrical. It's some sort of electrical thing. It's not pockets of no air, or it could be some sort of pockets of helium that they're going through or something.
Fluid dynamics. I think electricity would follow the same kind of fluxing.
Well, maybe it's the turbines in the plane don't like that air, and it's actually the turbines doing it. But yeah, I mean, it must make a difference when you're flying through all those weather conditions, because we all know, don't we? We can stand here and watch clouds lower going one way and higher clouds going the other. So they've got to be different air streams going on, haven't they?
Yeah, and all the atmospheres they're basically frequencies. So when they're going through,
it's really funny though with all this. You start off thinking you know everything, and then you hit flat Earth, and you realise you don't know anything, and you still don't know anything. And even when you think you found out more, there's still more to learn, and it goes on and on and on, and you never get to the end.
Yeah, it's like flat Earth is almost like kindergarten class, kind of. It's like kind of the entry level to seeing or not seeing it right away, but realizing, oh, there's more. Whoa, there's more, and it's just
more and more and
more and more,
and it leads on. And so I do realise that a lot of people, I mean, Nimblehorse has done very well. He stuck to his subject. He did. But people come on and you can't help it, because then you go over there and then you go over there, because everything is connected to something else.
Yeah, I go through some, like, there'll be like 2 or 3 days sometimes here and there that my mind is just scrambled eggs, because I'm trying to connect like 4 or 5 different things. You could probably maybe tell from some of my videos they're a little scatterbrained here and there, but I'm just trying to like get it done and get something on paper, right? Kind of in my mind, like just get it something down, and then I can revert back to my own videos for making future ones, like my leaving a crumb trail for myself, so I don't kind of forget. Because you do research and stuff, and you're connecting dots in your head, and you're like, oh my gosh, yeah, I just kind of figured that out. And if you don't kind of write it down or document it in some way, the next day you're in a different mode, and you might have forgot how you got there. So I try to use my YouTube channel for that.
Not just that as well. You start off here, and then 2 years later, and especially listening to people like you, Nimblehorse and Josh, me and Patricia have sat there and sort of slowly changed our minds on things, listening to other people talking, and then you think, well, you've just got to remain open most of the time, because we don't really know anything for sure. I mean, all these people that go, where's your model and all that? You think, well, NASA's supposedly got all that money going in, and they're still not telling us the truth, even though they know. So how are we supposed to do it with just the people on the ground? We need something like some scientists. We need some bigger body to help us now.
Yeah, we need people not afraid to question your own beliefs, and even truthers. That's what I try to do, is I try to question the truths that I feel like I've uncovered. I re-question them. And I'll even throw it out there, and you catch some ridicule from people like, oh, like, no, we got here by questioning stuff. So we got to re-question our own theories that we're all kind of coming up with, and then share them, and then listen to what people have to say about that, and then maybe reformulate it. So that's kind of the scientific process.
Yeah.
So
I'd add something to that, is that I think it's important to say that, there's a certain portion of this disinformation. People that are pushing false narratives, deliberately trying to, obfuscate things and steer people away. And that is the part of our day-to-day life, like now. And shills, you'd call them, right? And so I like coming to this hangout. This is just to round up my final sort of awakening story, whatever, is that, you know, I've been coming to this site for probably more than a year, and I like it because I can just have fun in the chat, you know, and pretty much everybody is open to suggestion of just alternative anything, right? And that's important because, like I said, trying to talk to Christians about the Bible, they've got so much baggage, dogma, you know, that I can't get through to them. I get more success talking to secular people about my Bible study than I do with, you know, quote unquote born again Christians. So same with flat earthers. You get some total numpties coming in trying to say that, you know, the earth's not flat, and they can't. We know there's a stalemate. You know, it's been a stalemate from before I started the YouTube. Like I told you before, I'd been reading about flat Earth or concave Earth or geocentric Earth, and that is the truth on the ground. Is that there isn't any way to prove it, and I think the World War II is when we lost control of just normal science, you know, just truthful science, and it became Cold War. It became like top secret and all this disinformation, and, you know, like Sputnik, you know, that was the first sort of.
Yeah, do you know something? You've made me realise, Nimblehorse, is that they were probably much more informed before, and even though we think that we're modern and newspapers and internet, we're a lot less informed of the truth now than they probably were a while ago.
Yeah, well, that's why I was saying all these people got led to their death in the First and Second World War because they read newspapers, you know, and they were told, like the British people were told in First World War that the Germans had invaded Brussels and they'd been chopping hands off babies and toddlers, just cutting their hands off for fun and throwing them up and catching them on their bayonets and stuff, right? And 1 million men enlisted. That was turned out that was a complete lie. And after the war, the Daily Mail had to apologize for telling lies, you know, and that's what happened. We just, not ordinary people, watch the mainstream media, news, BBC, and they're totally led down false narratives to try and move, like, for political agendas and stuff. And it's just shocking that the amount of abuse that we take day on, you know, day after day from these people. So
yeah, it's a beatdown. It's a beatdown. It's like it's like they're playing the slow game.
And they are. They've got 100-year plans, 50-year plan, and they're playing this, you know, and they're winning.
Oh yeah, they're winning. It's like you got to respect their game to kind of overcome it, at least just for yourself, and then maybe help a few loved ones or close friends if you can, to kind of see it, because it's protecting your soul, your mind.
Yeah, because normally that you would never do that. That's in the Bible. You know, like a father would never give, if his son asked for an egg, he wouldn't give him a scorpion. You know, I think that's one of the verses out of the Bible. It's like normally you don't get your government stabbing you in the back. But today, that's where we're living. We're living under false. Everything's just a veneer, you know, of niceness. And that's what I was saying about the 66 million people that were slaughtered in Russia, the Christians. They all got annihilated by these, ethnically cleansed by the bankers. And that could so happen today. And I think that is what they're planning. They're planning another huge genocide of peoples. And once they get the people to give up their guns, it's much more easy for them to take control and make their gulags and take people.
Oh, no, I actually don't like guns, but I don't want the American people to put down their guns. I don't like guns, but if they do, then it's easy to bring in what they want. It's because America have that in their constitution. But the thing is, as I'm learning, is a lot of these stories they're putting out, they're not real. So they're telling you that all these people are killing everybody and all these things are going on, and they're not. I don't think the people are fighting like they say they are. Yep. I just don't see it. It's not happening. People are not doing all these things. It's just making the news. I'm sure people do it, but I don't think it's happening on the scale like they're doing it, making it look like we're just a horrendous race that are constantly murdering each other. I think that's all hype. It's just all put there to lie to us, make us in fear that you can't trust your neighbour, can't trust even your husband now because he might murder you.
Yeah.
It's all done in a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if these people are like some kind of psychic vampires, then they're feeding off all this kind of genuine.
Oh, you just I went into a whole vampire thing, man. Yeah.
Oh, yes, Josh has certain words: helium, electricity, and vampires.
Yeah.
Go on, Josh.
No, he like that's they're sucking, dude. Totally, 100%. Like, yeah, that's they're harvesting us, you know, and that's kind of why when I talk about, you know, some of the ways that some of the fake you know, they fake a lot of stuff on us, and I think conspiracies they also fake on us, some of them, and it's to misdirect us from truth. But how I kind of see us being harvested on so many different levels, I think they and I've had experiences where you're better to be nurtured while you're being harvested so that you don't kill your host. So I don't think that they would want to necessarily, you know, poison us. I think that would not benefit them, how they're harvesting us through all kinds of different ways. But yeah, dude, you brought up vampires, so yeah, cool. I didn't mean to cut you off though.
Well, I'm just generally ranting about the state of affairs that we keep coming back to this site because we get to sort of vent here a wee bit. You know, I feel like being made a mod. I'm just looking at the chat just now, and that I can't be censored. I've been in other people's chats, and if I'm not a mod, then I can get dropped if I mention like.
Can I just explain about that? You mean the wrench everybody's got? The point is that we're supposed to be a community, and certain members, like you, Nimblehorse, you've just come on. Josh likes coming to talk, but that isn't what everybody likes. They don't. Not everybody wants to be on a hangout, show their face. It's not for everyone. So we have a chat room, and in the chat room, the people who keep coming back to the channel, who protect the channel, get a wrench.
Yeah, I was just meaning once you do get a wrench, you're not able to be put time out. So I felt that, you know, I could say things in the chat room that normally sometimes I would be banned. Simple as that. And because it's an open chat, you know, people are more willing to accept that they may have some understandings wrong. Yeah, like just more freedom. I just feel
the only thing we ask is that people just stay nice, because obviously we are in a very frustrating time. I mean, look at the knowledge you've got, Nimblehorse. Look at the knowledge Josh has got. Look at the knowledge that people in the chat room, even people I can see them when they're writing their messages in the chat room to other people, they're full of information, full of this information, and it's just disgusting what they've done. They've like completely. It's almost, I don't know. It's just crazy. We're living in a matrix for sure.
Yeah, and being able to come somewhere and listen and speak to like-minded people is important in this kind of fractionalized.
Yeah, we have to do it nicely, don't we? Because we've already had a bad time. It's already as bad as it can get, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, we've got to learn to be nice to each other, because unfortunately, we're all this generation right now is very narcissistic. It just is.
You're so right. I was just thinking that today. I'm guilty of that myself. I'm just being sort of waking out of this kind of narcissistic encouragement. You're encouraged to be uber, you know, you're like a unicorn. You can be your own purple unicorn in this society. It's totally insane.
Dagan's put in the chat room, good manners cost nothing. But you know something? You know what you were saying? I can't remember which one it was of you now. You, Josh, said about the materialistic place that we live in. Yeah, all the things that are really important to us don't actually cost you money. Talking, kissing, cuddling, doing just things like this. They don't actually cost you money, but they cost you everything in everything else. But the things that are most important don't cost money. They cost you being a human or having a heart and a soul.
Totally. Yeah, totally. Like laying on the couch, snuggling with the dogs. that's free, right? And yeah, like those are the best things. You got to fill yourself up. You got to fill yourself up with that.
Whatever it is, I know that we're talking about kissing with someone else, but you know, if you have or haven't got a partner, you won't be kissing other people. You can kiss the dog or kiss your grandchildren or kiss your children. But you know what I mean? They don't cost money. All these things are free, but they cost you everything in life if you can't do them, have them. Communication, you know, trust. You can't buy trust.
So, Karen, I mean, you're making the effort to create this, these hangouts and have this your channel, and that's what I was coming on with it to say thanks for doing that, because I enjoy.
Oh, Nimblehorse, what a sweetie you are. Well, Patricia's very pleased that you came on to tell us a bit about you, the person. I mean, we see Nimblehorse in the chat room all the time, so Patricia loves you for sharing your thoughts. And it's a pleasure. This is a people's group.
Yeah, such fun. And I was going to round out the story with some positive. Although this negative's going on, I've got total faith, if you like. The word faith in the Bible just means allegiance, right? So I've got total allegiance with God, and the fact is that good will prevail. That's the story ultimately of the Bible, is that through all this turmoil that's happening and Babylon's system that's keeping everybody down, I mean, that is going to end. It's going to come crashing down, and it's just been prophesied by these people, that the people stoned and sawed in half and stuff, these people were able, somehow mystically, you could see the end game, and the end game is coming rapidly approaching with this international banking, fractional reserve, debt slavery that we've all got around our necks, this impossible yoke, you know, and wars getting us all ensnared in these internecine warfare and impovering us, keeping us, it's neo-feudalism, okay? That's what they've got planned. No middle classes, just extreme poverty and extreme wealth. And they will fail. There's just no doubt, there's just no way, because they're so anti-nature, they're so anti-God, they're just, everything wrong about that they're celebrating, and they're just so corrupt that they'll just come tumbling down.
I also think people are very good about talking about things, but they're not very good about actually, like, people talk about love or all these things, but they can't do it. They talk about it rather than doing it.
At the end of the day, I just think that the world's going to outlast all this wickedness, and it'll eventually just refine itself.
I hope so, but it's pretty dire out there. I mean, with things that I'm finding out about even the media, I'm just so shocked, and it's just incredible what they're doing to us. I just think that they're basically got this thing going, and the whole time with humans, the whole time is this game and project. There's layers and layers of it, all just to demoralize the people one way or another.
I mean, there's horrors going on today with their cloning. There's probably a sort of deep bunker type where they're able to do all sorts of weird things with the genome, making, like Alien, creating these creatures, swapping heads around and that. They've probably got all that already.
I mean, like Josh is into something else as well. He quite likes Enslaved by No Media. They're friends, aren't you, Josh? And all the bit about like how the refraction thing works, how things look closer and further away. I mean, GoPro Keith, he's in the chat room. We went to Silbury Hill. We saw what Enslaved by No Media said for sure. Well, we should be talking about things like that. Those things should be there in our. They're not there at all, are they?
It should at least be a part of the conversation, and the whole all of us kind of trying to come together to figure out truth. That is an area of study that not a lot of people don't really look at as important or something. I don't know, or they shoot it down. It's pretty crazy, but yeah, our perception is a massive like weapon being used against us. Our perception of how we see things, and our perception of distance and size and shape and all that's a part of the game on us, and the perception war is what I call it, and it is in full go right now as we speak. They, and they use cameras and stuff like that to,
Basically, we look like a herd of animals that need to be controlled.
Yeah. Even through our perception.
It just made me realize, like, all these stories, like, if a lot of these stories that they're putting out in the press are they're not real, or they're exaggerating, or they're covering things up, and they're making people believe that every day that a lot of these, because I don't know, I'm sure it happens in the UK, but we don't really get much of it on our news about people murdering people all the time. In America, I just can't get over every day. There's like a big slaughter going on every day with everybody. I don't think it's happening. I think they're lying. They're making it look like you can't trust anybody.
Yeah.
It's called also the Hegelian dialectic, whereas the Hegelian dialectic is problem, reaction, solution, isn't it? So they'll create a problem, which is somebody turns up and shoots up the mosque. Okay, the reaction is immediate, have a ban and take away everybody's guns, and then the solution is that they've got this much more subduable populace that they can deal with if they, slowly, little by little. I could mention a Bible quote. Jesus says, "Beware the leaven of the Pharisees, which is hypocrisy." Well, if you translate that into modern speak, that's beware the cultural Marxism of the Jews, which is hypocrisy, right? The Jews, I mean, the Jewish money power, the Hollywood, banking, academia. What else have they got? The porno. They've got people slaving, the organs, human trafficking. And these people, I don't want to pick on the Jews as, it's more like these people that are using the Jews as cover. I mean, I'm not blaming Jews. They're like Catholics. They get told loads of lies by their priest class, and they believe it. So the Jews are the same. They've just been told loads of lies by their rabbi class, and they believe it. And they get the Rothschilds, the Uber Jews. That's who I'm kind of pointing the finger at, and the rabbis for preaching their Talmudic filth, right? And these people are actually the movers and shakers of this world. So we're not allowed to talk about that because that would be anti-Semite, right? Anti-Semitic. Well, they admit that they're not Semites in their own, like they're Ashkenazi Jews. 90% of modern Jewry are Ashkenazi, right? And they come from right, Shem, Japheth, and Ham. They were Noah's three sons. Okay, Shem is a Semite, Ham is a Hamite, and Japheth is a Japhethite. So the Khazar Jews, Ashkenazi Jews, they're from Japheth. They admit that. So they're not Shemites. So how could they be anti-Semite if you criticize them? I mean, this is where we're at. We're coming to this point where government is controlled by Zog, okay, and they own the BBC, ABC, CNN, Fox News. It's all these people. They've got this agenda, which is to rule over all of us with this rod of iron. I mean, that's what they say. I'm not like just making this stuff up. That's where we're at. We're in this kind of controlled world now, where even YouTube are clamping down. We're not allowed to talk about flat Earth because that.
Yeah, and I know, and I've been putting a little video out. In fact, it was Harry from John Smith Globe Live Tour. He put it on one of his videos about the fact that the media, they got all the news readers to read the same thing, to say that news stations were putting out fake information and trying to control the public's whatever it was, and they all repeated it. But that's where we are. Even though they've put it in the public, we're still in the same place. Yeah. We are being controlled, and they're going, well, this is dangerous for our democracy. But we haven't got democracy.
Yeah, I mean, there's Plato's Republic. He explains that democracy leads to oligarchy, which leads to tyranny. So it's just words. They just use these kind of catch-all words to try and get people in a camp. So that's the Hegelian dialectic. Is if you rule through disorder and when people take factions left and right, you can steer them, and they've created these fake left and fake right. We've got that just now with the Brexit. It's just a kind of stagnating mess of indecision. And
I don't even understand that, because when you cause indecision, then the countries, then to what we're looking at, everything's going up and down and up and down. That's what that causes. So why carry it on? I've had 2 years. I must admit, it would take a while. I mean, we've got Aaron doing Project Lumen. He's nearly finished all the time. He's just got that finishing bit, and then something else comes up. Then he's got to sort that out. So I can understand that things might take a bit longer. But they knew. I can't explain it. You mean to say that they didn't have something in place? What, they were so sure we were going to vote yes, and now I hear, we're going to might have another referendum. I'm thinking, oh my goodness gracious me!
yeah,
Our whole economy has dropped on the floor since we've decided to come out of this Euro thing, and now they're being indecisive. I can't say the word indecisive, and then they're thinking of having another referendum. I just think, I'm thank goodness I'm not watching it. Keith tells me what's going on, and I'm so glad I'm on the outside. I just can't. It's unbearable.
I don't actually get into politics either. It's like I don't have a TV. I'm not interested in looking at the BBC or any of that crap. I drove myself mad watching that garbage years ago. I done the telly, but it's just it's engineered. Like, it's designed to be like this. We're meant to become disaffected and fractionalized. The societies are breaking down. They're bringing in all these foreign people to take away the jobs and to devalue. It's just awful. But I think it's going to get worse before it gets better. That's what I was saying about the positivity. Even, if I don't make it through, I think there's going to be a massive clusterfuck. Like Judgment Day is going to come when the bank ATMs start pumping out money, and there's no more food on the shelves because just-in-time inventory has failed. There's no more trainers coming from China. And if things start breaking down, there's like probably martial law because infighting between Muslims and Brits or whatever. They're trying to engineer a race war with that Tommy Robinson idiot. I mean, he's totally Zionist shell, but he's trying to inflame the English against the Muslims, paedophilia or whatever. But he's not pointing the finger at the Jewish Talmud, which is full of, encouraging paedophilia. So these people are hypocrites, and they're just trying to steer the people, make people into one camp or the other, and have both of them working for them. And it's the same thing that's been going on over and over again.
Yeah, controlling both sides of the narrative.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's classic. It's called Hegelian dialectic. Now, Hegel himself wasn't actually a kind of evil Jew. He was just this guy that was looking at nature, and he noticed, microcolonies and things like ants. If you stick something in the middle of an ant colony, then the ants react to that, and they try and resolve the problem, and then there's a solution, and that's the problem, reaction, solution. Well, these evil Jews, money class, the ones that want to rule the world with their mad ideas, when everybody is a slave, well, they took that idea. Marx took that idea. Karl Marx came from rabbinical family. He morphed that into Marxism, Das Kapital, and Darwin was like a big fan of Marx and vice versa. These Masons, they've created these systems to rule over.
Yeah. And those guys are just characters, yeah. They're not, they're just characters that they created. Karl Marx and Darwin and all that, just
although I think
characters.
Trotsky, these people, these radicals, Jewish radicals, are real. They're zealots. They actually believe that they are God's chosen Satan. They're God. They know who they are, and they know that they do wicked things. But they hide behind this veneer of holier than thou.
Yeah, there's definitely groups of people that feel that they have superior, superior over us. They're not going to give us any real names, they're going to give us, fake,
So
I don't want to say names, but they're going to give it, trigger words on YouTube and stuff. But there are definitely some fake characters that were presented to us. Not that they're not doing that stuff, but the names that we know are not, the real names. We're never going to know the real names of these secret societies, the Freemasons and all that. It's not secret if we know it, if we know the name of it. So that's just let them know that. That's kind of like their
cloak and dagger. That's the thing we're up against.
Yeah.
The dark side, we know nothing about it really. Just hints of how the satanic rituals and whatnot. I think that does give them power. Their sigils and their gematria that they put out into the media. Like Audi symbol I was telling you, the Volkswagen 666. So they have funding that. So anyway, I still think it's a positive thing. Like the Bible is a happy ending, ultimately, if you're on the side of good. If you're on the side of the snakes, and you're fucked. It's ultimately the story there.
Yeah, it's a great reference book. There are a lot of there's probably stuff we haven't even decoded in it yet.
Any questions from the chat room? I've not been looking at the chat at all. I would just get too distracted. So,
well, the chat room have been listening in. They've sort of been writing things down as gone along, and it causes people to talk about other things because it's kind of related. But Sultan says, I want to know what love is. I want Sydney to show me. Who's that then? Sydney. Who's Sydney? I very much appreciate appreciate all Josh's videos and things and all the time and effort that Josh puts in.
Thank you.
I don't know if you make any videos yet, Josh. I mean, sorry, Nimblehorse.
No, I don't. I've just been kind of picking things that I like and re-uploading them, giving the person full credit and just for fun, so that I didn't have just an empty site. But then a bunch of people seem to have subbed to me. I've got like 100 people following my,
Oh, that's good then.
I might I've got like a nice camera, a nice phone now, like an Android phone, so I could start making some.
Yeah, you should just go on camera like you are right here, man, and just talk and present your stuff like that and put it out. That'd be cool.
Maybe when I'm out and about. I've got other things going on. I've got like a workshop. I'm trying to start up a business as well. So just to get off of the benefit system here is pretty grim, and it's not enough to survive. So I'm going to try and use my hands to fabricate some stuff and make some money, I suppose.
That's really good. I'm really pleased for you. Oh my goodness, everybody's sending me messages. It's kind of like the way it's been put is that it almost makes you not want to try anymore. And none of us want to be actually in that world anymore, do we? So it's a bit difficult, isn't it?
Yes. Hello, Josh.
Sorry. Totally, Karen. It's hard living in both matrices. Yeah. The matrix of kind of seeing stuff and the matrix that we kind of have to live in and function in too, that they've made for us.
And the thing is, you didn't even know. We've grown up believing everything's so different, and that you only know what you know, and then you find out it's all a lie.
Yeah.
It's a bit weird, isn't it, to find out your whole life is a lie and everything in it is a lie. I mean, it is a bit like I'm thinking, why they send me here? What for this?
Yeah, it's like a blessing and a curse. It's like it sucks as much as it's good for your soul. It's good for your soul because it's truth. So that's good for you. But as much as it sets you free, it puts some other bars up for you You know, you lose friends and stuff like that.
Yeah, I know. Look at you as if you're crazy.
Yeah, and I always try to tell people, like, it's okay. Yeah, maybe I'm crazy, but like I could still, like, you want to chat about baseball or like hang out and play some music, I can do that too. I don't just always do this. You know, I go to work, and stuff like that. You know, I cut my fingernails, You do normal stuff too. So it's not all just always this, I mean, it's a part of your psyche to kind of keep searching truth. And um, it's also figuring out how to communicate it to people, if you wish to. It's for some, it's not for everybody to communicate it. It's enough just knowing it and quietly knowing it for yourself. And I was like that for a while, and then, like, I don't know, I guess the musician in me or the performer in me or whatever, like, I want to start saying stuff now and putting stuff out. So yeah, that's why I started doing it. The need to communicate, and then, you know, also be challenged and be tested with what I'm thinking. It's like you want to come to an earnest place in your mind so you can feel okay with the truth that you think you know. So I think sharing that with people and for me, publicly sharing it and put my face behind it, my name behind it, even on Facebook, friends and family can see it. Pretty much everything I do. And it's kind of like, well, end of the day, you know exactly what you're getting with me. You know.
Oh, you're a nice soul, you are. Josh, you're a nice soul. I watch your videos. You're a nice person, nice man, nice soul.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
You know I do. I think Josh is lovely. He's a nice man.
Thank you. I think you are too. I think you're wonderful.
Yeah, you need to. Lots of love. You as well, yeah. Nimblehorse. It's been nice meeting Nimblehorse. It's always really great when you meet some of your chat room.
I like Nimblehorse. I like the stuff you're talking about, dude.
Oh, there you go. Friends united.
That's what I mean. We've all come to this channel for some reason, because we've got this connection with this, flat earth thing. Everything, because that's your sun and moon, and more than that, just all these different.
Well, our channel's about the people, isn't it? I mean, I do generally sit quite quietly. So it's not about me. It's not that I'm directing you or anything. It's about you, the people, talking.
That's what I mean. It's quite varied. That's why I like it. It's just odd. And you have to be a bit odd, I think, to get into flat earth. And just taking on that idea from being such a programmed sheep, to break that, it takes a lot. I could have told you about my earlier, before I got into the internet. I spent many years just unemployed and in poverty, so I was nothing going for me, right? A white male, zero chance, for whatever reason. That's how I find myself. So I actually decided just to kind of drop out from, and I started wearing a Highland traditional clothes, like a big kilt, which is basically just a big blanket and a belt. And then I made my own shoes out of leather. And just had the only Western clothes I had were socks and a t-shirt, right? And I went about Dundee City like that, on poverty benefits. And for years and years, I just eked out a life with it. I had a big greyhound. Okay, well, to do that, to dress up, and by the way, my kilt was like a miniskirt kilt and a big hood, right? Because that's how they used to do it. They had kilts when you squat down on the ground, your kilt doesn't get in a puddle. It's really short. It's like a mini skirt, and you've got the rest of the material up above your head like a big hood or cape, So anyway, I did that. I went about Dundee town like that for years and years, totally unemployable. I ended up getting sickness benefit because I was so unemployable. And I just pleased myself for day after day, and then ended up in a cottage living in Fife. Every day was my own, but I was kind of poor, dressing like fucking Rob Roy, right? And in fact, even further back, the Bronze Age is my study period, you know, and to do that, it's totally, you know, can't really explain it. It's like being some kind of tramp, you know, people can't, cognitive dissonance, people. So maybe that's why I'm into flat Earth, because it's so contrary. I get
It's not just about the land, though, is it? It's because it includes everything else.
Yeah, and it's just, that's what I mean. It's a whole big ball of wax of conspiracy theories, and that's what I like. I like this, because the mainstream is so fucked up. Sorry for swearing, but it's just, it is fucked up. It's evil and wicked. And
yeah, I agree, Nimblehorse. It's evil. What I'm finding out, evil. I think basically that nearly everything we watch isn't true. They're also hologramming it, manipulating it, CGIing it. And when you watch something on your mobile phone, you think you're watching a sequence of something, but you're not. You're just watching what basically is the news is like a soap opera. And everything on it is staged. Everything on it is a lie. And it goes on and on. I'm just gutted that you cannot trust anything they say.
Yeah, it's the media industrial complex. That's what's happened. It's the military industrial complex morphed with the media industrial complex. And it's the same people that are playing this narrative that in all the countries around the world. It's
I do realise how they do it. They do things like, for instance, I watched someone else talking about how they do it. So basically, we just pick somewhere like Malaysia. So suddenly you'll start getting stories from Malaysia where people have gone missing. Oh, look, the army's out on the street. They've got pictures of maybe soldiers out. Oh, there's some movement happening. And they basically build up to the public that someone like Malaysia's got many problems. And then, oh, lo and behold, we've got to go in and sort it out. But all along, it was them. They were the problem. It wasn't the country. It's because really they're in, it's like a firing line. It's like a line of sight, isn't it? Right, got them. Let's go and get them.
And it's because of the repetition on so many levels, newspapers, glossy magazines, you know, internet news, mainstream news, repetition. And it's just, people just...
They're the ones funneling the lies. What do they do? Is it the basic, the governments go, okay, press, are you listening to us? What you've got to do is you've got to spread mayhem. You've got to spread the lies. You've got to spread that people are always fighting and killing each other and breaking up. Your job is to make people feel depressed.
Yeah, it is like that. And it's there's only 6 people that own all these newspapers and magazines.
Yeah, that's the thing. When you find out when it was that company that did that bit of about democracy, God knows how many stations they had, because they all read it out and it filled up a computer screen like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It might have been 10. Excuse me, 10, 20. There might have been 50 stations all reading that they owned, reading the same message. But they were trying to say the media are ruining democracy by giving false statements and misleading the people. I just wish more news companies would say the same thing. I don't think we're ever going to believe them anymore. How can you believe them?
Because it's fraud and it's...
yeah.
It's wrong. Surely they would be prosecuted and jailed, you know. So it's a huge conspiracy and on the highest level. So it's like...
And so now it means that anything comes out in the news or whatever, we're never going to believe it. And then everybody breaks it. Oh, look, it's this and it's that. It wasn't real in the first place.
I mean, even JFK, you know, getting shot in the head. You know, you can watch him on YouTube over and over again. His brains spewing. But you can't watch that mosque shooting in New Zealand. You know? It's like, what's the difference?
Yes, well, we can't go too much into those things, as you well know, as you've just said. But yes, it's all a bit strange, isn't it? There are some things you can see it all. You can go to court. Oh, someone's messaging me on Skype. Sorry. You can watch people be sentenced to death in court. I mean, still think that's quite a personal thing when you're sentenced to death. You've got all that going on, and then there's other things they won't show us at all. So it's all a bit crazy. But I did realise when I was in Turkey that when we were watching the news, they were showing a lot more about what happened on their news than over here in the UK. And you know that there's that BBC World News that everybody's following and respects and everything like that. And yet, I'm not saying that everybody wants to see this, but there was some flash floods in Turkey, and people died. They showed you it. In England or here, you just get these people died. It's not that you want to see all the blood and the gore or anything like that, but how can you know it's the truth? I could say basically, Karen, it's the 1 o'clock news. 20 ships have disappeared in the sea. You know, unless you see some of these things, how are you going to believe it? But then they fake everything anyway, don't they? So it's impossible. I think the news stations need a complete overhaul. It's just another layer of government, probably, isn't it? Yeah, government just
I do believe there's a this shadow government. I call it Zog, which is basically Zionist occupied government. It's just people, you know, they make people anti-Semites if you don't go along with them. So they criminalize people just for disagreeing with them, you know. And this is what I meant to try to think about earlier. It's such thin ice. It's really awkward.
Yeah, because we don't know what is the truth anymore. And, you know, I think it's really bad when you hear all this, like the news, and they're always saying these people are doing things. And then later on, 10, 15 years later, you find out it was us that did it all, not the other countries. And I mean, look at it this way. I mean, Josh will know. The newspapers here have been reporting that the moon is in our atmosphere, and there's no big jump around. No one's going, oh my, really? They obviously don't. People just don't care anymore. They're just not looking, and they're not listening the same. It goes in one ear and out the other. Because suddenly, if the moon turns up in our atmosphere and they're admitting it, that, well, everything's just changed, hasn't it?
Apparently, half of American women, this is a statistic I heard, they're all on Prozac. Half of them are on Prozac or some pharmaceutical for antidepressants. You know, this is just an ordinary American woman. I cannot believe that. There's loads of folk on downers and just to get through the day. It's such a drudge, and we're all, you know, all impoverished. The roads are falling apart. We're being like strangled by these international bankers. This is where we're at, and all these masons.
I find it. Please don't, Josh. Please don't think I'm having a go at America. But I was watching some programs where these hurricanes have hit a few years ago, and their towns have never been rebuilt because they say they don't have any money. Yet every day, $53 million goes to NASA. So they do have the money. They're just putting it in the wrong place. They're not looking after the people. They're just trying to funnel the money out.
And tell lies about it with their media. Yeah, it's just awful. So I think it'll all come to a head, like I was saying, eventually. It'll just get to such a weight of crap, it'll just collapse. All these lies will just collapse. That's a famous quote. And the truth will reign in the end.
But it is great, isn't it? Like, there's a whole chat room full of awake people. So it's just where to go. I mean, where do you go? And what I found out with what they're doing with cases in America, I was just thinking, oh, the rabbit hole's really nasty, because it means they're all in on it. And you think, well, where do you go? There's no one to go to. Who can you go to? What? Am I going to go to Mr. Donald Trump, am I? What, Theresa May? Do I go to these people? No, they're not even going to listen to you at all. Yeah, it's all going on. It's just crazy. We live in a crazy place.
Yeah.
So a part of me would like to go and just move to an island. All flat earthers who are peaceful come, and we just ignore the rest of the world.
But what are they doing with the chemtrail? What I thought they were was that they get from all of the coal-fired power stations, there's this fly ash, right? Well, they collect that and make a slurry, you know, of all those tiny particles. Like it's like a nanoparticle and fly ash, and then that's what they pump out high altitudes, which spreads out. I've seen it myself. Great big flat kind of, and they're trying to change the weather. It's weather wars. They just want to fuck it up. They want people's crops to fail so that you have to buy their drought resistant Monsanto sterile seed.
Do you know what I found? I found a video. It was nothing to do with flat earth or any. It was trying to show that in Australia, all the rain comes, but unfortunately it rains in the sea rather than on the land. And they used HARP to bring the clouds in so that the crops got watered. Now, that I can understand. That's the best thing for the Australians, just to slightly move the weather so that they can get rain. The rest of it, I don't. The rest of it's awful because they're using the weather against us.
Yeah, I did see a bit of that HARP, how they're able to steer it using it. It's like radar waves sort of pushing this magnetic field about, and with particulate matter as well. They can. There's also with the satellites being fake. You know how they're saying that you can all of these gigabyte communications can happen by bouncing the signal off of a cloud of particles like aluminium particles, and you get a mirror effect that you can send the signal round the world, quote unquote, but we know it's flat. Well, so there are no satellites; they're just bouncing signals about off of the Ionis flat. Yeah, it would be the ionosphere, but the Ionis flat. I believe that totally. That's because another thing was I found out about the atom bomb being fake early on. Reading about how Hiroshima was basically just firebombed, like the other 85 Japanese cities were firebombed with napalm, yeah, and cost them £100,000 to do that. So why would you spend 2 million on an atom bomb that didn't even exist? You know, I've been there. I don't need to do a lecture just now, but atom bombs totally fake, and I think satellites are a joke as well. Also, nuclear power. I've been doing a bit of research on that, and that seems to be bogus as well. It's just what they do is with their coal-fired power stations, gas-fired power stations, all of the excess electricity that's produced, and they need to burn it off somewhere, so they send it down the pipe to these reactors where it's boiled off as water vapor, and they have all the sophisticated electronics inside. It's just kind of reversed, so all of the workers inside are thinking that they're sending power out when it's just really power coming in and getting destroyed, or converted into vapor. So it's just another scam, and they're able to cost so much to the taxpayer. You see, it's just all about tax farming. Stupid Goyim pays the taxes that builds these joke institutions, and they keep us all in the dark with their bogus academia and all that, and they've got us like
it's sorry, Nimblehorse, but yeah, that's another way that they're hiding free energy. If they're hoaxing us on these fake nuclear plants and all these other fake sources of energy, then how are we getting our energy? They're pulling it out of the atmosphere.
Yeah, like why would they bury Tesla? He's the one that's been for all of these.
And he's probably also another character that they invented, but still that technology that's talked about in that still exists. And yeah, they didn't like necessarily bury, they presented to us that they buried Tesla, but behind the scenes they're using that technology today. They're pulling it right out of the atmosphere, and I think all the towers that are erected around and certain skyscrapers and cities and stuff like that are harvesting that electricity and powering stuff up right out of the air. Air is electrical. Air might be God. It's everywhere.
Well, I think that's why they buried Tesla or took away all of his fame. They didn't really credit him where his credit was due. And maybe they did that to conceal the fact that they're using his systems. Like there was a cut-off point, like just after the Second World War. I was trying to explain where the good guys lost, okay, and the bad guys, people, stole all our money. Okay, that's how I see it anyway. Yeah, so science suffered. We are not getting told the truth because they don't want us to know the truth. They want to keep us dumb and stupid and just going along with their ideas, and they want to reduce our numbers as well, so that we're easier to manage. I can see that happening with a pharmaceutical, no cancer cures. How much have we all paid in charities for a cancer cure? And we've not got one. We've just got poisonous radiotherapy and chemotherapy, which is like torture. And we're in a hell of sorts, being milked for every penny. So that's where we're at today.
Yeah, they'll probably make a tax because of tax. So there'll be a tax on tax.
However,
so it's all bad, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, yes and no. I think we are coming round. It does say in the end days, in the Bible eschatology, that we come round one at a time to all of this falseness, basically. And that's the Antichrist creating all this garbage. Like I said, good will prevail in the end. But we do all have to go through the ringer. There's no rapture. That's just bullshit.
So Brandon thought that was funny that I said a tax on tax. It's pretty bad though, isn't it? I mean, I don't know. Everything's going up so much, but yeah, like in car insurance, like they're sticking things up so much. But I mean, our salaries, the way we're living, doesn't match this expensive life which they're giving us.
Yeah. Well, the yellow vests, I watched a bit of that in France. I mean, they're having week after week after week of protests because of the working and living conditions. And that's what we're being squeezed by these international bankers. And that's what happened. We bailed them out, remember? But that shouldn't have happened. And now all of the money that should have gone into roads and schools, education, whatever, that's all gone. and they're not finished with us. They've got plans for us, unfortunately. It doesn't include us. That's how I see it. We've got us earmarked for extinction. And we're just living in like a high life just now with the internet and communications. But I think they could pull that just through, because everything's tied into their money systems. Global banking. They're the masters, but through that system, we're all pawns in the game. And if we start to try and make our own money, like our local currencies, you could just have a leather stamp, and that's your local currency for day-and-day tradings for, bread and milk. But they don't like that. They don't like people having independence from the system. So they, like you said, Gaddafi gets taken out. But he was one of the people exposing all of the fake democracy. He wrote that green book. I don't know if I've just read the first couple of chapters, but he was an enemy of the national bankers, really. You still there, Karen?
I'm here, dude.
I was just
I'm listening in, dude.
Right. So I was just ranting about this state of affairs. I mean, we are all over the barrel, and the proof of that is that we're not allowed to talk about flat Earth. That's because by doing so, it unravels the fake NASA and the fake satellites and the fake curve, and that we are actually a stationary flat plane, and so that's not good for business. So that's why they're cutting the YouTube algorithms and stuff.
You're just breaking up a little there, Nimblehorse.
Right. Oh. Just that we are being censored just for exploring alternative worldviews. I mean, that's not really fair, not fair at all. If people want to entertain the concave theory, then they should be allowed to talk about their ideas. I think people like YouTube trying to say that it's contrary to, how they were attacking it. It's just pretty bad. That's why I was joking. I was saying that I wanted my flat Earth anti-stab jacket, because around here, you can only push that so far before people get really angry. because they're so enslaved by the system, and you start talking about flat Earth. I mean, I've got friends, I just can't talk about it. They went on, they had a totally huffy fit, and I had to promise that I wouldn't raise the subject again, you know. And just to have peace, you've just got not just, I know when and when not to talk about flat Earth now, you know, because just people just can't handle it. Just have a meltdown. Like the Holocaust, you can't say that the Jews weren't murdered by, there was no gas things, there was no final solution. And the Holocaust did happen, the 66 million, we're not told about that. You know, it's just all hypocrisy, and I've got to be careful. When I first found all this out, I was totally delighted. I was trying to tell people down the pub about this, and they were like, especially the Hitler stuff, they didn't want to know about that at all, you know, and they got quite angry. So it's funny.
Yeah, well, it's mind-boggling, isn't it? Really. We've been going for 2.25 hours. I don't know if you're getting tired, Nimblehorse, as well. It is quite tiring when you're always talking. If you're the one talking. Yeah, can we like, obviously Josh is here, so obviously Josh can have the floor for a few minutes, and you have the floor for a few minutes, Nimblehorse. Should we do Nimblehorse first, because he was just about to talk, and then I'll come back to Josh. Nimblehorse.
Yeah. I just want to say thanks very much, everybody. I've not really been paying attention in the chat because I'd get too distracted. But and Karen for inviting me, and Pat for having the idea of my story, and Josh.
Aww.
It's been really fun. So thanks very much.
Well, likewise. Now we've met you, Nimblehorse. You'll have to come back on another hangout anyway. But appreciate you very much, and hope you've enjoyed yourself too. I hope you've enjoyed yourself a bit, Nimblehorse.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been fun.
I can tell already that, because obviously I've only been on with Nimblehorse twice. I don't know if he's done many other hangouts, but I can already tell from the first one to now that you've gained a bit more confidence, because it is a bit over-awing, isn't it? Like, with all these, you think all these people are listening, you just don't want to say something stupid, or someone asks you a question, you just go blank. Because it's a bit like that when you're live, isn't it?
Yeah, I've not done Skype for years. Like, I had this old camera, so I'm not in the habit of doing my lives. No, I liked it. So thanks for the invite, and Josh, take it away.
Hey, Nimble, I'm gonna come sub on your channel. Yeah. I dig it.
Okay.
Aww, so nice to hear that.
I've not looked at your channel, so I'll check it out.
And I finally found your channel, Karen, the Unscramble channel.
You did.
I finally, yeah, like last week, I finally found it. Yeah. I like all the stuff you're doing. What's his name? Chris Watts.
Do you?
I watched that.
Yeah.
This is something very different, guys, in the chat room. I just have another channel. I was using it as an experiment. I wanted to see what would happen if I tried to wake people up without having flat Earth in it. But it was the same sort of thing. But in the meantime, sort of Sun and Moon isn't really about me. It's about you, the people. Whereas the other channel, I can say what I like. And I just found that this case where these people seemingly died and all that kind of stuff, and I was just a bit gutted, especially when you think she was 15 weeks pregnant and she had 2 children, 3 and 5, and he smothered them at the gas tanks and stuffed them in there. And just the story, they've learnt that bit since he's in prison. But I just suddenly noticed things, which is all tying into the fact that we're lied to, that first of all, me and Patricia has read the 2,000-page document about this case. He never went to court. Basically, he agreed, okay, I murdered everybody, so he got sentenced, supposedly, and we saw it all in court, supposedly. And he got like 4 life sentences, which is about 100 years or whatever it is, so he'll never come out of prison. But it was a bit strange. Like, they gave us this hour and 10 minutes of the drive, but it wasn't an hour and 10 minutes. It was only actually 10 minutes. And on that 10 minutes, if you want to take that part, there are these shadows, which the public were going, hey, but he's picking up another person on the drive. One of the children must have been alive. But the police seem to have missed all this and put the guy in prison without even checking about the shadow on the drive, because that came from the neighbour's footage, supposedly. And the neighbour's footage, they had the day, basically, Shanann went missing. So they had all that. Then I'm listening and they're giving out everybody's names and addresses. Everybody that was involved. The mistress, the mum and dad, everybody. Even somebody who knew them, but they interviewed them just to get, because obviously maybe they were on, they were on their phone. So, hey, this is a person that's been texting in the last 6 weeks. Right, we're going to talk to them. So you even hear everything. It doesn't matter what it was, whether they say their email address, telephone number, address, whatever it was. They said it all. They didn't bleep any of it. They gave us all that. So you can't trust the drive footage because that's wrong. They've given us an hour and 10 minutes. And the other strange thing as well is that in 10 minutes that he was there, we're seeing dark into nearly dawn. We're seeing the different lights coming in, and you can see it getting lighter and lighter. And he went off about 10, 20 minutes, whatever, half an hour before sunrise, but it was still nearly light. So if he was there for 10 minutes, you would not have this gradual change of light like it did. You would over an hour, but not in 10 minutes. So you can't trust the drive footage. Instead of blurring everything out, they've stuck so much stuff in it. You can see extra faces, even photographs pop out. Photographs. Like it has been totally manipulated. So that's that. And then one day I just noticed by looking at the pictures, I thought, hang on a minute. All the pictures were the same. It doesn't matter where they are, when they're together, all they've done is change their hair and their T-shirts. And the general public haven't noticed. Well, some have noticed. And then I started looking at the metadata of the photographs. They just don't exist. And this company, Huffman, have done all, it's an encoding company. So, of course, it's all manipulated. So, and then they went to prison and the police were talking, the FBI were talking to him. They were laughing. Excuse me, everybody. They were talking about their sexual positions. I mean, they were sitting in a room where he had no handcuffs, no nothing. Their bags were on the back of the tables. On the boxes, it said A&E. The picture they gave us basically had legs as arms. They were legs on his arms, not arms. All the pictures are manipulated. None of them are true. None of them come from a source. They're all being so manipulated and photoshopped that you can't find in the metadata. It goes, and I've like, I'm going from actually where I had tears in my eye, bored Patricia to death with it because I was like, no, but all this has happened. And, every day, loads of channels are out there streaming every day about it as if it happened yesterday. It happened in August last year, and he went to prison in November. Yeah, every day, just look at the internet, go and put Chris Watson that in, you'll find that channel upon channel are still minutely going through everything. And I've now changed my mind. Now I don't know what this is because it's all lies. Nothing's true. Nothing's real. And they're using some hologram technology. So this is how they blend people in. And on a mobile phone, if everybody's watching on a mobile phone, whatever they're doing to us, you won't see it on the mobile. Me and Patricia and other people have realised they're getting it past us. So what I mean is you think, oh, I'm watching Trump and he's going it. You're probably not. It's all computerized, but you don't see the difference on a mobile. It's only when you blow it up on your computer and slow it down, and then this other story appears. You can see people morphing. You can see in this footage that I've been watching that at the car he had this, and by the time he's got to the policeman, and yet he's only done 1, 2, 3 steps or something, he's lost half the things he was carrying. It just goes on. It's just so fake and manipulated. Anyway, that's just one case. That's just one case. So it's about control, making the people feel depressed, keeping everybody busy, and giving them lies. And they're all in on it. I'm just disgusted.
Yeah, it's this fake narrative like ISS is a fake place, full of fake people. They could just be cartoons that have sophisticated enough now to fool us into thinking that they're actually humans. Not to use the word human, but a person, and we don't realize they're CGI'd. The whole thing is just because they've just given us the old stuff and telling us that it's new probably. So we think that CGI means like those games, like it's not quite good enough to fool us yet. We think. But I think if they've got more sophisticated stuff, way more sophisticated CGI, they could just make it a lot, really, and have a bunch of people working on that full time just to create that illusion.
Yeah, I put a video out on Sun and Moon about that, and I actually put it on this other channel about how the media are infiltrating us. They're just basically the military. They might look like nice, normal people. They infiltrate us, and they're lying. It's all like manipulating the people. They've been doing it for years, haven't they?
I've watched that Chris Watts scenario stuff, and it's all about voyeurism, isn't it? We're like getting little snippets into her life.
Well, in fact, we got it all, by the way. Apart from him actually supposedly murdering his family and what his life's like in prison, we saw the rest. They even gave us the police have got body cams on, and basically they filmed it all. But it's like a film set because that camera always captures everything, and it's like they've got it right in the right place.
Yeah, and the dog.
They've just so basically you're there from the moment. So her girlfriend says, "I'm not happy. My friend's not there. Her shoes, her cars, everything is there, and yet she's not there." The police were there supposedly just a few hours after he killed everybody, and it goes on from there right round till November when he goes to prison. We've got all this footage. They even gave you cam footage of, say, when somebody rang in to say, "Hey, I've seen someone trying to break into their house," because obviously she's supposed to be dead and he's in prison. So you even get the cam footage of the police going into the house when they're just checking the house is all right. They gave you everything, and everybody's names and addresses, and fake footage of the drive, and fake photographs. So I just don't know what this is, but all I know is that the people have bought into it. And whereas a few months ago, like, because it was just a very small voice, I'd make maybe one video a month just to say how upset I was about this case. And then suddenly, when this other channel kept saying that the girlfriend was on the drive, and I kept thinking, right, let's go and have a look. And also there were shadows. I saw the shadows. I saw the extra shadow come in, but there was no girlfriend. It was just a mash of bad mixing on the videoing, and wasn't anybody. It was just the way that the pixels, like the boxes where they'd stuck and tried to cut things out. So you were actually seeing a box and a box, and it made it look like someone's hair. From a distance, it looked like someone's head. So I did 16 videos on that to try and tell the people it wasn't right. But I didn't realize the whole case was a lie. I can't tell you whether they died or not, whether that bit's true. The other day, Aaron had a little hangout with us to say basically, well, maybe he was a sleeper and he's murdered the wrong people. You know, he was supposed to go and do that, but he didn't, and he murdered his family. And so what it is they're covering it up. So I thought, yeah, that could be it. But I just think it's even worse than that. I just think narrative is coming from them. All in on it. The judge has extra hair, which you only see. They've stuck extra hair on, but you only see it when you slow it down. Suddenly this tuft of hair appears at the back of his head. All this is going on. Why would they have to manipulate it? Just crazy. I don't even know what it is.
It could be just that it's a distraction. Keeps people away.
I just say to anybody in the chat room, I'm putting down the name of the channel, but it's not actually a flat earth channel, although some people from there have come over to this channel already because they've looked at the bottom of the channel where I've put some links about other things and they've realized I'm a flat earther, those that are looking. But what it was is I didn't really want to just do Chris Watts, but no one wants to get off it. So, and now I'm finding so many lies. Instead of feeling very sorry, now I'm going lie, 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 lie. Since last 2 weeks, everything's a lie. So I'll just put the name of the channel in the chat room. But yeah.
I mean, there's a famous quote from the CIA guy. I could probably dig it up. And he basically says, you know, the top guy in the CIA. He says that when all of the American people have everything they believe is a lie, then they know that their disinformation program has been a success. Well, he said everything. You know, it's like almost like the American people, everything they believe has been fed to them by this sort of miscreant, you know, devilish sort of people that are behind, that are able to steer it, you know. So think tanks is quite a octopus, yeah. So tentacles in different parts of the government, like a cancer, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just a bit mind boggled because there's another case, and these people are starting to get plea deals, which is really crazy. It's called she was called Kelsey. It's the Patrick Frazee case. I just see the same thing happening. I just see that when you slow it down and blow it up, it looks like we're watching Action Man in a cartoon or something. You know, it's a cartoon, and this girlfriend supposedly helped do all these things, and suddenly, so she's an accessory to it, and she also could have saved this girl's life because she knew before, because the boyfriend was going, kill her. And she was going, no, no. And then he did it. Oh, I'll help you clear it up. She took her phone. She pinged it in other states. Now this person's getting a plea deal. How can they? She's almost as guilty as, because she could have saved this girl's life. It's just something doesn't add up again. All these plea deals, plea deal. They just don't go to court then. And then you can't have a court case.
I mean,
I'm sure that's part of their game, isn't it? Is the plea deal.
I mean, as well as in cartoons, these people can be like MK Ultra kind of drones, because they've got camps of people, maybe underground in these dumbs, you know, the laboratories where they can sort of create children and mold them to anything. You know, they've got the resources to do that, and then they can pull these characters out to do shit for them. And they might be part cartoon, part real person, you know, and they'll make these stories, like I said, just for all sorts of purposes. I think they can have fun, you know, by distracting and confusing us. And
yeah, if you understand, every day people are having hangouts and discussing this every day, hours of it, talking about the discovery document, just talking about things. I'm not sure if half the channels are in on it, to be honest, but yeah, it's all part of a game. But anyway, it's called the Unscrambled channel for those that were interested. But I am stuck on that case right now, and I've put a few things in, like the Mandela effect. I put one of Josh's in. I've done the one about water, you know how disgusting water is. I've put those in. A couple of hundred people watch that. But if I put stuff in about Chris Watts, thousands watch that. So you know that they're hooked on this case. But I think it's disgusting to do that to the people. I mean, just it's disgusting. But anyway, enough of that. Josh, do you want to say anything before we go? Is he there? You might have walked on a...
There,
Oh, he's there.
was,
You can go and get a drink.
yeah, sorry, I was muted. Yeah. I just want to thank you for having me on.
Oh, it's an absolute pleasure as always, Josh. And Nimblehorse. Patricia, do you want to say anything? Patricia.
I'm here. Give me chance. Yeah, I've got watched bit it well now, but yeah, it's fascinating. I've just put just put a message out earlier in the chat for anybody that wants to come on to the next my story. So I've given my email. I don't know yours off by heart, Karen, so I would have put yours in, but
I'll put mine in as well, okay, for that. We're still taking stories for my story. We're still doing that. It'll be an ongoing thing. Because
until we're sick and tired of you. Only joking.
But the thing is, though, right now we're sort of going around a bit in circles with Flat Earth, isn't it? We've had a lot of the big channels on our channel, and you know, we just want to go more with the people, don't we, Patricia?
Yeah. I watched a thing called Afterlife this afternoon. It's a series. It's Ricky Gervais, I think it is. And you know, I cried all the way through it because at the end of the day, you realise that you actually need people in your life. Don't matter if you're hurting or not, you still need to be there for other people. And this is how I am. I want to be there for other people. You know, so
You are, Patricia, like me. She is. She's lovely, Patricia. She's a great help, and you're there for me. You are there. You do it.
I know, but I've got so much love. I can share it again with other people. Do you know what I mean? But anyway, there's 3 ways to do it. You can either send me or Karen an email, telling us your story, and we'll somehow get it out through a hangout or whatever, video or whatever. Or, excuse me, you can come on a hangout like Nimblehorse, or make your own little video and post it to either me and Karen. Basically, better off doing it to Karen because she does all that sort of stuff.
On that one, I think it's better if it comes as a video or we have a hangout, because I loved that letter I read. But if letters like that come, I mean, I don't know if I'm the best narrator, to be honest. Videos, and then we still see them, don't we? It was lovely, that email we had, but I just rather it as videos or hangouts.
Well, I could read the emails out.
Okay, all right then. Emails, videos, or come on a hangout like Nimblehorse. He took the plunge, didn't you, Nimblehorse?
It's been good. Good fun.
Again, it's great getting to know a member of our chat room. People can see Nimblehorse is a real person.
Yeah, just an ordinary bloke.
We all are, aren't we? Just
well, most of us are.
Some of us have got lives, but mine's sad and boring, really. But I like to hear other people's, because then it makes mine less boring, I suppose. But yeah, it's all great.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, Flat Earth is great for many things. Like, you wake up, you feel more complete in yourself because now you know what all that spiritual thing was going on. You know the truth more. But once you do that, it makes everybody else like on another continent or something. It puts everybody right over there. And you realize that you're not exactly alone, but I don't know, that the wisdom, the knowledge was supposed to bring everybody together. And all it's done is those that have woken up, it pushes everybody away. Because most people think we're crazy.
Yeah.
But can't go back.
Yeah, sorry,
probably because we are. In our own little way.
Can you and pretend now? Once you've spent hours, I mean, like, I know that Josh does. I know that Josh is always researching hours and hours. Pretty sure that a lot of people in the chat room have been the same. And once you get to there, you can't then go back and you're much deeper. I do think, though, that Flat Earth is quite an intellectual subject. So when we start talking, we sound like physicists. You know what? Here they go. I think it's such a deep thing. I think we're talking about such sort of scientific-y sort of things. I think a lot of people can't handle it. They think, they get that blank. It's like I'm listening to a politician, blank. But it's such a deep subject, isn't it? And so intellectual. It covers everything.
Back to school. That's what they don't want to do.
Yeah, they don't want to go back to school. Try to figure. They're like, everybody. They've already figured all that stuff out for us. Why are you bringing it up again? We shouldn't have to think about that anymore.
Study involved. There's a lot of you've got to understand the model, the globe model first, before you can kind of throw that away.
Yeah, you have to learn more about the globe to tell the globe people how wrong it is anyway. So you've got like a double lesson here, because you've got to learn about something you don't want to learn about, and also learning all your new stuff.
Exactly. That's fun to me. I enjoyed my Flat Earth thing, and it has kind of, I've not learned anything new since the YouTube thing than I did when I was just reading stuff about it. The same conclusion is that it can't be proven either way, but there's more likely to be flat because of the government is hiding it. You know, they don't want us to think flat Earth. That's so it probably is. You know, they say it's something else. It's probably the exact opposite of what they're saying.
I'm still a bit shocked that more people don't wake up. I mean, many more people are taking plane flights. If they can't see it out the window, I just don't get it. I don't get how more people haven't woken up.
Well, actually, flat Earth, we're going on for a bit long, but I mean, my friend was convinced that you could see the curve from an airplane or from up a mountain. Well, we know from that's not the truth, and the science agrees. And
the windows are curved in airplanes too. So
people are just deluded. They just think they're so silly. You know, people at this dumbed down to such a degree that people get angry when you point out the obvious.
Yeah, it's like a trigger to get people angry. And, like you're saying, Karen, like, why don't people want to wake up? It seems to me it's like they're just super good at, with all the psychological operations, to float the stuff out there to make waking up looking crazy. So a lot of people avoid it, I think, because they don't want to be pegged as that crazy person.
Yeah.
And they're good at making sure everybody's gonna, they use all the they own everything. So, they'll use like Taco Bell, and they'll put Illuminati.
Everybody's running in the herd, aren't they? Whereas all of us, we're all individuals, and that's the way it should be. We're individual people. We're not a herd.
And we're divine as well, if you think about it. We're part of the matrix of all this stuff. We've got a divine aspect which has been concealed from us by these people that want to exploit us as meat puppets, So,
yeah, in the chat room, Brian's put, people are too scared to wake up, and maybe some people have woken up, but they're too scared to share it, and they still live and carry on. I mean, I actually started working for someone, and they said and I thought, oh well, I don't know, it just so happened it came up. And I thought, because usually you can use your job over saying to someone you're a flat earther. And he turned around and he said, oh, yeah, I understood it was flat when I was a kid. I thought, yay! See, he's a silent one. He's not telling anybody, but he does know. So there's obviously silent ones, people who are frightened, want to be in the herd. But the thing is, we're sort of hopefully standing up and taking a bit more responsibility for ourselves. That's what this is about, isn't it? But anyway, look, we're going on a bit now, but thank you so much, chat room. To the chat room. Hope you've enjoyed our conversation. It's been a varied amount. Thank you, Patricia. Thank you, Nimblehorse. And thank you, Josh. And we will say goodbye off air, but to everybody on air, we're back on, what day are we back? We're back on Tuesday with Claudio. We've got Marilyn Free Spirit next week, and we've also got Robert Forsch next week. So, see you next week, everybody. Thank you so much. Mwah.
Bye, everyone.